What's up, everybody? It's the Doom and Gloom episode, everybody. Hope you guys are ready for a great show. We're not going to be doom and gloom at all, actually. It's going to be a fantastic show for you guys. Got a great panel for you. Shout out to everybody that's here. I see Gaming Dude is here. Young West, great to see you here. Alfie's here. Will, just a phenomenal group of people. John is, I guess, Crap here. Of course, Crap is here today. There's no way. It didn't matter. If we had to get him, no matter where he was, on vacation, we would have got him on location. That's what would have happened today. Nonetheless, guys, please take a second to hit that like button, if you will. Let's get this show to 500 likes. If you're listening later, you're listening now. We're going to have a big audience tonight. Please let everybody in the chat know, too. I love it when the chat reminds the chat that to hit that like button. It means the world to me. Ocelot, I see him here. What's up? Shout out to Ocelot, by the way. Him and J-Dub and I played Helldivers 2, which we're going to be speaking about tonight. That whole release month when it came out, it was fantastic. We're going to get into that whole thing and what happened with Xbox yesterday. There's a whole lot to get into, and I'm very excited. Look at that fantastic description down there. If you look at that, that's outstanding. Every single word crafted perfectly. Right above that's the join button. That's how you become a part of the Mooch Midnight family members, and it would mean the world to me if you did that. Also, the button next to the like button, I believe, is a subscribe button. You do that, your name comes up in lights, and you're here every week anyways. Why not get reminded? Hit a bell. Hit a button. Nonetheless, we got a great show for you guys. I'm very excited for tonight's show. Let's get into these introductions, but let's make them quick. And as you can see, we already have a fantastic panel here, and we have a couple others joining us as the hour progresses. That being said, you guys know him as my voice doppelganger. He's fantastic. He's in the news. He's in the know. It's fantastic to know the great Mag, and Mag's back on the show. Mag, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing fantastic. I'm glad to be here. Glad to see this chat's already rocking and rolling. They were really restless for us to get started tonight, but we got a lot to talk about tonight, so let's get into it. And I thank you for saying me first before Crap gets in there, because otherwise I'm not going to get a word till 8:15.
He does it. He does reverse order now.
I do it in reverse order, otherwise there's no way.
Crap's got to be last, and then it just goes right into the first topic, so go for it.
Well, Mag, take your notes as we're going through, because as Crap goes through, I'm sure you're going to actually have a ton of stuff to say on the side of all of that, which is going to be fantastic. I think you're going to ride parallel with him on the night, but nonetheless, the great J-Dub City, too. I said, tonight's the night you got to get Kratos back in here. The great J-Dub. Jay, we also enjoyed a lot of Helldivers 2 and a lot of news that went on this week. Jay, how you doing this evening? I know that it's been unbelievable for you on Twitter, now known as X. I don't know how you even made time for the show with how busy you are over there alone. But Jay, welcome back to the show. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Can't complain. Listen, it's 4th of July weekend. And wish, if I don't talk to you guys tomorrow, which I'm sure I will, happy 4th of July. But yeah, man, some interesting topics and news this week. What a hell of a goddamn week, man. What a hell of a week. What a hell of a day to end the week.
Yes.
On a Thursday like this. But I'm looking forward to the topics and chopping it up with you guys.
Appreciate that, buddy. And then the great Brap is with us. As you guys know, as we call him Coach. Coach, I don't know how the hell you were able to get away on July 3rd, a day before the big holiday here in the States, and somehow there's no football, basketball, baseball, or soccer happening. I don't quite know how you did it, but I'm glad you're here. Brap, welcome back to the show, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Hey, what's up, Mooch? It's great to be back. Yeah,
great.
No sports today. No sports.
That's surprising.
Got a day off, but I'm back in the grind next week.
All right. Well, just for all you Brap fans out there, listen, make sure you hit him up on X and say, listen, whatever you got to do, Coach, make it so you can make it to CrossFire as well. Nonetheless, don't harass him. We just want to have him back on the show. I'm not sure. Shout out to the great Bathy J. He says, the Super Chat's working. It's a miracle. It really is a miracle. And shout out to Willie Gamer. He says, Brap scared Detzinger off. I mean, Detzinger might still be here. He's over in England. Sometimes they have to have a cappuccino or something, an espresso, something in the morning to kind of wake them up a little bit. And I understand that. We're going to get the great Detzinger. Hopefully he joins us at some point. It will be a great debate. Go ahead, Brap. You have something to say on that?
No, I was going to say it's like midnight over there, right?
It is late. Yes, it is. It's midnight.
He's probably melting because England hasn't invented air conditioning yet. So, yeah.
That's true.
Oh my god!
They don't believe in air conditioning.
No, they don't believe it. They usually don't need it, right, Mag?
Usually they don't. Wow. I mean, it's been happening the last like 5-6 summers now. I mean, like you want to catch on. There's a bit of a trend. But it's like you see the videos on Instagram. It's like, we're bloody melting out here. It's like, well, then buy a unit for crying out loud. But anyways, either way.
Oh, great to have you guys here. And listen, last but not last and not least, by the way, he just popped in the room. The great wise old gamer is here before I go to Crap, because you guys know Crap's got a rant ready for you guys. The wise old gamer is with us. Wise, you said to me, Mooch, you won't believe it, but people are not going to want to hear what I have to say. I, for one, have popcorn here. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. Wise, how you doing, buddy? We'll get Wise in here in a second. He's getting his microphone all set. You guys can't see the behind the scenes.
Fantastic, and I think that oh no, it's not him.
No, that's not him. That was close, though, man.
Oh my goodness!
But that was not. Meg's on a roll tonight, guys.
Sorry,
Meg is on a roll tonight.
I'm full of piss and vinegar tonight.
You
Right?
really are, buddy.
Matt, can you do a Phil Spencer impersonation?
Shout out to Mag and his impressions, guys. He'll be here all night. Don't forget to tip your waitress. Okay, listen. The great wise old gamer will get his microphone headset all set up. He just did jump in the room. But you guys know he doesn't need any introduction at all, but I like to give him one anyways. The great Crap Gamer is with us tonight, and Crap is not going to let you guys down. I promise you that. Crap, how you doing, buddy? Great to have you here.
You know, it's been a wild 2 days, right? Like
It has.
yesterday
It's a
was
lot.
crazy, and we don't even know the full extent of what happened yesterday, right? There's still stuff coming out like, okay, yeah, we know Perfect Dark was canceled and the MMO was canceled, and we know that Everwild was canceled, but they had apparently, you know, other people laid off from different various jobs, you know, including the Halo Studios, which according to some rumors is in disarray itself. We also have the apparent rumors that OD, which is the Kojima game, is now has been cut and severed, and Xbox isn't funding that. John Romero from Doom fame, his game was 2.5 years into getting made, and that whole studio had to close down because Microsoft pulled funding on it. And apparently that game was pretty fun. Yeah, I mean, you know, it just kind of is what it is. And also, Microsoft pulled the what the hell is that game, Mooch? They had the Battle Combat or whatever it was. They had that song. Remember, you got hit for it.
Oh, Contraband. Yeah. The only song, the song that gets you copyrighted, and that's the one that they cancel. Great.
Yeah. So Contraband, they pulled that off their YouTube channel. That was supposed to come out 2 years ago. You know, they lay off a bunch of workers or whatever. It's really a shame. And again, like it's bad that the workers got laid off, especially at a time when they're like, we're making so much money and we're doing better than ever. You know, and then the fact of the matter is that I think, like, you know, Xbox already had a problem with people looking at it and saying, okay, I don't really believe in what they're doing. And just 3.5 months ago, Phil Spencer made the round saying he had saw Everwild and it looked great and he was excited about it. And, you know, and we saw the Perfect Dark stuff last year, and it, you know, people were like, it looked amazing or whatever. And now those games are no more. And so you have to really look at it this way, right? Like, whose fault is that for all the failures? If you look at this, like Rare, right? I was told when Sea of Thieves went multi-plat that was going to save Rare and save Everwild.
That's right.
Right. But of course that didn't happen. Right. All the stuff that like people said would happen when they go multi-plat, it's going to save games. Now you look at Rare, their last game was 2017 with Sea of Thieves, and now we're in 2025. So 8 years, and they have no other games out. Right. Rare is super, or Sea of Thieves is long in the tooth. And, you know, even if they started a new game tomorrow, it wouldn't get done for another 5 years or so. You know what I mean? So you're looking at, that's an extended amount of time. I'm sure they probably considered shutting them down. Longtime people resigned, weren't even fired, but, you know, longtime people left the studio after that. You know, whatever the case may be, it's hard saying, like, how could you work in that kind of environment? You know, it's like morale has to be at an all-time low. Apparently the higher ups are all in on the AI stuff, and they're replacing some of the people with trying to replace as many people as possible with AI, which is just not a good thing, in my opinion. You know, I feel like how could you, like, I get it. Like, it's okay to be excited by the big games, but how can you even be excited by that if you don't know they're ever going to come out?
That's the thing.
Right? Like, I mean, look, even Fable, right? People are like, how about that? Because that's that game was started production in 2018. Right? I mean, like, I don't understand the thought process. And then the other thing that, like, people keep going on and on about, like, the next Xbox, and it's going to have Steam integration, and they don't care about this. Yesterday, if it was about business, right, and they have to run a business and make money, I think people need to get that whole idea of Steam and stuff in the next quote-unquote Xbox out of their minds. Because if they're making all these cuts to make money and to make profit, why on earth would they sell a box with access to a store where they get $0 from third parties, game sales, $0 from third-party microtransactions. They'd have to eliminate pay-to-play online, which millions of people pay for, and they would have to lower the cost of Game Pass because Game Pass is $10 more expensive a month for console gamers. But if you're using something that accesses PC and is basically a PC, then theirs is $10 cheaper. So they would have to lose half of what they make off of Game Pass as well. Like, nobody's really talking about this. That's why I think, and then a lot of insiders look foolish as well yesterday as well. So I mean that it is what it is with that. Like, I think, like, realistically, until stuff is really announced, it's hard to really believe half this stuff anyway. But it's like, if they and the Phil Spencer has said numerous times, it's a business. Like, how many times has he said that recently, right? It's a business. So if it's a business, they're going to want to make money. I think they might have something like an Xbox branded PC, but I'm leaning more now than ever that they're just going to have another console as well. Just a regular one. And it might have, like, where you can, like, if I'm online and you're on PC, it shows a PC logo next to your name, and you might be able to see your libraries from other things. But I'm more positive than ever that you're not gonna be able to play that stuff from your console, quote unquote, because you also have the fact that when Sony launched the PS5 Pro at that expensive price, Phil Spencer actually kind of took some shots at it and goes, I don't see how $1,000 console moves the industry or helps the industry, right? Yeah. So is he saying that? I mean, is that another thing people are going to clap back on him for? So yeah, like, if you can't subsidize your console, you're looking at $1,000, maybe more. Right. Again, so I think that they probably have multiple things in the pipeline. They look at that Asus ROG, which is a PC. They look at that as the kind of a console thing as well. But overall, really disappointed in that stuff. Like, I think there's probably more games that are going to get shelved down the line as well. It's like, they tried to put a really good spin on it. But how do you know, if you're an Xbox worker, what to do and what not to do, right? Because Hi-Fi Rush was a critical hit. Everybody loved it, but that studio got shut down. Right. So it's like, if you're working for Microsoft, you have no idea which way is up or down. You
really don't. And Crap, you brought one thing up. I want to ask Mag this. Nib, by the way, welcome, Nib, to the show. But Mag, I do want to ask you a question. Crap said something. There was some speculation, and I don't know. Sometimes you have inside word on this. I'm not sure. You have not talked to me about this behind the scenes, for full disclosure. But people are now saying that some of that the Perfect Dark footage we saw was not actual it was just kind of something put together quickly, and it wasn't real. It wasn't. They've had so much. I have it right here. They were saying basically it was not only canceled, but it was in development hell. Perfect Dark was in development hell, and I'm paraphrasing. I think that came from Bloomberg. I want to give a credit where credit's due. Mag, any truth to that, or no about the development hell, and that may or may not have really come as gameplay?
Yep, no, 100%. It was in development hell. Heard it from multiple sources inside Microsoft that I spoke to. Said the exact same thing. And funny enough, actually, the same people that were telling me that for several months now, and actually even up as early as last year, telling me the exact same thing. These are also the same people that told me 4 hours before Bloomberg and Jason Schreier announced the cancellations of Perfect Dark and Everwild. So they had told me before any of those other big guns got it. Unfortunately for me, I was in a meeting and I couldn't check my phone. So by the time I checked my phone, it was way too late, and then it got broke. The story broke. So these guys are legit. Obviously, they work there and their jobs were safe. I asked them that too. I'm like, am I about to lose a contact? And they're like, no, it's fine. But anyways, yes, they were in development hell. Now, the thing is, if I may, just briefly here, I don't want to sideline this too much, but I think a lot of the problems that happened yesterday, not just yesterday, but like the culmination of the problems yesterday, were not only just, I think, wrangling in the employees to get these games, the developers and everybody else working on these games. Me personally, I would 100%, if I was in charge, I would 100% blame the management. And the reason why is that, how can you allow, now when you see these cancellations, how do you allow a team that was put together in late 2017, early 2018, and it's 2025, and you can't even produce actual game footage after 7 years? Yeah, it's crazy. And this was an all-star team. That was an all-star team. We were calling them the All-Stars, right? That was the first quadruple A team.
Come on.
Right?
Who actually thought this game was going to come out to fruition? Anybody thinking that shit is fucking, needs to lie.
I know, Wise, but the thing is, this was Mooch said it was supposed to be the all-star team or whatever else, but 7 years later, and you give us doctored footage.
The only reason the all-star team in basketball won was because everybody else who was playing against them was sitting back and watching the motherfuckers play. That's the reason. Okay.
Yeah.
So all-star teams don't work.
Yeah, but after 7 years, the thing is, I think that after 3 years, if you don't have a playable build of the game, I would start to ask some questions, and then after that, I'd be like, listen, I'm not going to let this run for another 4 years beyond that. And then, you know what I mean? Like, I would have probably cut this thing dry probably 3-4 years ago. I wouldn't have allowed it to get this far. And I think that that's the fault of management for allowing the game to go that far. Now, Everwild, another situation where you had the game in development for damn near 10 years, because what happened is Rare started the game and then they canceled the game. Not canceled, excuse me. They scrapped the game and then they started over. If anybody in the chat doesn't know what the game is, I did put a video about it. Actually, funny enough, like not even 2 weeks ago, and a lot of people reached out. They're like, Mag, you just did a video about what the game is about. Now they canceled it. The game was going to be I've seen it in motion. I saw the gameplay of it. It was sent to me. It was basically like a Pal World meets like a farm simulator with like some combat in it and stuff like that, but it was not so much focused on the combat. It was going to be focused more on taming creatures to have them work for you and that kind of thing, right? It was it was like a mix of like Pokemon, Pal World, and like a farming simulator. So I did this whole video about it, and then they canned it. But the thing is, it took too long again. Now you're paying people. Now you got to look at the dollars and cents. You have people getting paid upwards of well over 6 figures for these jobs, and they're on the same project for damn near 10 years without producing anything. That's not going to work. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that happened. But I'm not condoning it at all. I really am not. But it can't be. You can't be surprised by it. What I would have done is I blamed the Xbox management.
Yes.
For not reining this in. When you're allowing the inmates to run the asylum, you remember the philosophy that was happening, no pun intended, the philosophy of a couple of years ago, and then it was like, we let the teams do what they want, they take their time, and they do this. Well, how'd that work out for you?
Yeah.
Because now they took so much time that they're like, now the big guys up beyond Phil and everybody else, they're saying, that's it, boys. Start shaving them off because we can't afford it. You're not producing games. They're taking 2-hour lunches with a Niçoise salad in San Diego, taking pictures. Instead of working on the game, and then taking 3-day weekends and all this other stuff, right? Well, it's not going to work when you're not producing a product. You can do all those things if you're producing a product, but they didn't. And as a result of that, I blame the workers. You can blame. Listen, when the cat's away, the mice play, and that's what happens when it comes to workers too. They'll just kind of lollygag and do the thing. They're like, "Hey, man, this is a gravy train. I come in, I color a few trees, and I go home, and I get paid $130,000 a year."
Yeah.
The management should have been in there and said, "Guys, I need a playable build of this game right now." Not a
that's right it. Now. You know, Meg. Meg.
Also, this is what I. Let me. Oh, so go ahead.
No, and I'll give you the mic right back, and I want to hear from J-Dub and Nib as well here, as well as Brap. I know he's got a lot to chime in. But shout out to Phantom Mockingbird. And listen, a lot of people on different channels are always like, I was right, and they clip themselves and they put it out there. I'm just saying, we've been saying since 2017. You can go back and look at the MNC mornings, everything else. We've been saying that Xbox has a leadership problem, and the leadership problem therein is exactly what Mag said. Who's watching the game's development? Who's checking the quality here? Who's checking the progression, the milestones, right? And I felt this from a long time ago. I think some of the games, there's a couple people point to certain games. They'll go, oh, wait a minute, Indiana Jones was great. Indiana Jones, Bethesda, great. But the Xbox controlled Halo Infinite, what happened with Gears 4 and 5, right? Who had the finger on the pulse there? We've been saying Xbox needs new management for quite some time. And just a couple of quick super chats, I'll give it back to Wise. I have Rob Jones here. He says, I see the topics will write themselves this week. That's true, Rob. Andy Hart says, been Team Xbox since 360, but stranded now, not to walk away. Xbox is such a mess now. Liquid Tada, thank you for becoming a member of the channel. It means a lot. He says, good evening, gents. Good evening to you, Liquid. I appreciate that. Glinster says, if Sony laid off 9,000 people, Deathsinger would be here. I'm sure Deathsinger is going to be checking out the replay, and he may come back at you guys for this one next week. We'll see. But go ahead, Wise.
The problem I'm having is that you always say it's the leadership problem, but the problem is you don't know who's in leadership there. Is it Satya or is it Phil? And the problem is, or is it Amy? We don't know. The problem is it's probably Satya and Amy. And the thing is this, when the ABK deal happened, and I didn't say anything at the time, and people were very excited about it. I'm like, okay, great. But the problem is people thought Bobby Kotick's equivalent was Phil Spencer. That is not correct. Bobby Kotick would not talk to Phil Spencer. Bobby Kotick's parallel in Microsoft is Satya. Okay. And Kotick said, look, basically he said, why are you doing this? You already have a business paradigm as to how games sell. Look at Minecraft. They have this one IP that they keep iterating on. It doesn't take a lot and it keeps generating income for them. And they bought Call of Duty and they see the same thing with Call of Duty, with King, same thing. These women, all they want is a little bit different candy on their Candy Crush. That's okay. They can do that. And that is what they're going for. All of these small little passion projects, these things that do not add up or if they miss 3 deadlines, that game is canceled. It's over. They are not looking at it. They're only looking at IPs that have longevity, and that's what they're going to be doing going forward. And so when you say it's a management problem, it's a management problem all the way up to the top because the prime directive is being changed.
That's why I never said, and Meg, I'll give you the mic. That's why I just want to clarify. That's why if you go back and listen, I never said it was just one person. I've always specified. I'm saying I'm never put it on one person. Microsoft's too big of a company. Xbox division, too big of a division. Not one person. It's all the way up. I'm with you on that, Wise. Go ahead, Meg.
All I was going to say before you get to J-Dub is the hierarchy. There's a miscommunication in the hierarchy, and I see that even in my corporate, like the corporation I work for. I see the same thing. And the funny thing is, these people are all in the same building with me, and it's still funny to watch that miscommunication happen. And I'm like, you could just walk like 5 feet to come and tell me something, right? Or whatever. And people don't do it. So what's happening is, you're right. You get your Satya, and then you go down to Amy Hood, then from Amy Hood down to Phil, then from Phil down to Sarah Bond, and then Sarah Bond to Matt Booty, and then everybody else after that, right? But the thing is, if those people who aren't in direct contact with the development teams are not on top of their teams, it is the fault of the management, because the management should be asking that person and saying, your team is not producing. Can you speak to them and find out what's going on? Those questions I don't know were asked, and they certainly were not answered. Because how do you allow a game like Everwild to take 10 years and not produce a goddamn thing? I know Phil played a playable build of the game in the spring, in the fall. That's the one that I saw as well. And then the same thing with Perfect Dark, and you've had the help of Crystal Dynamics on top of that. The thing is, the hierarchy, there was a breakdown in communication, and the problem with that, and that is a management problem. They should have been on top of that, and then they should have, you know what I mean? When you start, how they say shit rolls downhill, and it starts from the top, and you start asking questions, and you get answers. But the problem is, I feel like there weren't answers given, and as a result of that, there you go. And then like the workers are just the workers at the end of the day. And I think that management team with that broken communication allowed this to run for years. And then, of course, it's hemorrhaging money. And then that's where Amy Hood gets involved. And then she whispers in the ear of Satya, and he goes, we can't be hemorrhaging money in this, this project, not the department, not Xbox. I'm talking about this project, that project, this project, whatever. They obviously singled out the ones. And then they started, all right, start thinning the herd, start canceling those games, whatever it was, and then move on from there.
It's a real simple equation if you think about it. The only reason any company invests in anything is to beat the money that they would get if they invested in the stock market. Because, cash on hand is a liability for any corporation because cash loses its value.
Yes, it is.
So,
hey, Mooch,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's like, because this came out very late and multiple places are running with it, that one of the reasons why Microsoft forced this to happen is because they want to invest $80 billion into AI infrastructure, and they really wanted to do more than that. And they kind of hold a grudge against Xbox division for buying Activision in the first place, right? So like that's kind of the gist of what a couple of the outlets are reporting from behind the scenes is they would have much rather put $160 billion into AI rather than spending $80 billion on Activision and then only being able to do so again, if they're having to hammer that hard on Microsoft for the Xbox part, where does that leave them if shit starts falling apart for them again in a few years? Like, I mean, you have to wonder again, like I don't ever really feel necessarily safe with my library and stuff because you can see how fast things change, right? People that go, oh, well, they said they're working on another console. Well, shit, 3 months ago, Phil said he was excited for Sea of Thieves and it looked great.
Everwild.
You know what I mean? Yeah, apparently this game, they got canceled. This MMO, it was a looter shooter that Phil Spencer himself couldn't put down playing. and they still canned it.
Yeah,
Right? It's like, I mean, look, these things that are kind of happening, they smack of poor leadership. And what was that lady? She had come out and she did a video and she was talking about how Xbox has changed for the worst. And
Laura
she
Fryer.
was,
Laura
yeah,
Fryer.
yeah.
Laura Fryer,
And
yeah.
she made a lot of good points. A lot of people were attacking her, but she was 100% right. She's like, Xbox used to be able to ship their games, and now it's like they want to ship everywhere, but they don't have the people and the talent
Yeah.
to ship everywhere.
Yep.
Right? And that's just a fact of the matter. It's like I can remember a long time ago, in a party chat with Phil Spencer and some other people that you guys probably know, and he was kind of off the cuff talking about how he couldn't deal with dealing with Polyphony Digital, who do Gran Turismo and PlayStation. He's like, they only come out with a game every 5-6 years. He's like, that's no good. You know, I couldn't deal with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And here we are. It's like you used to have before Phil Spencer, and you guys can check it. Forza game every other year. You had Forza Motorsport, then a Horizon, then a Motorsport, then a Horizon, and then all of a sudden we got this like 6-year gap for Motorsport. And when it came out, it sucked. Right? You used to get a Halo game every 2 to 3 years. You used to get a Fable game every 2 to 3 years. You used to get a Gears game every 2 to 3 years, like clockwork.
Yep.
Right? Then they'd have things to fill in the gaps, third-party deals.
That's right.
BioShock exclusive for a year. Saints Row was exclusive. You know, they had all these types of deals. Mass Effect 2 was exclusive for a year. They would Alan Wake. You know, they do some pretty good third-party deals, and they Call of Duty maps. Like they did things to draw people into the Xbox platform, and now it's like they can't ship things to save their life. And when they are shipping games, they're only shipping games that are okay or good. They're not shipping games that are amazing that like turn heads or anything. So, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. I think Indiana Jones was awesome, but that's not a game that's really going to turn heads. You know what I mean? It's like that's an old, like an IP, and people didn't know what to make of it. It's like it's not an action game,
Right.
right? It's because you can't just go around blasting everything. You have to kind of sneak and
Yeah.
you know, kind of do those kind of things. So it wasn't, you know, it was a
No, they did
first
what
person.
they did what they could with the game. Yeah, absolutely.
I loved it, and I can't wait for the DLC. But again, it's like that's not going to be a game that's going to draw in millions of people.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of the games that they're coming out with aren't that either. You know, like I played Avowed and beat South of Midnight, and those games are okay. But again, they don't even stuff like Starfield, not great. You know what I mean? Good game, not great. These aren't games that are going to draw people to your platform, and I think that's the biggest problem. And it's like they have so many different publishing branches and games and things like, and you only have one person checking in with all that.
Yeah.
Right. And he's kind of sucks at this job, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right. So again, we have to look at Microsoft and we say, have they ever built up a game or a franchise or a studio for themselves and had a success? And the answer is no. They bought Halo in. They bought Gears of War after, buying it as a third-party game, from Epic Games. You know, they haven't, Starfield, again, that wasn't the big smash hit that they thought it was. And even if it was, they bought it. They built up the Coalition, and we never got a game from them. Quadruple A studio, right?
Yeah.
And we never got a game from them. It's like
crap,
they have,
crap.
yeah.
I remember you used to like kind of poke fun at them a bit because you were like, oh, they're always posting pictures at lunch or something.
Yeah.
On brunch.
That,
yeah.
Because listen, like I know people don't like it. I'm not saying work 100 hours a week, but do like what's wrong with a little overtime or people, it's like now it's like they have all these, if you look at some of these development studios, they got like think tanks and like nap centers and it's all this weird shit. It's like, man, like I'm a Simpsons fan, and you go back and there's this picture that floats around from 1994. And it's the writers of The Simpsons, and Conan O'Brien's there, and some other people, because people don't know Conan O'Brien was a writer for The Simpsons.
Yeah.
It was really funny back in the early 90s. And they're all sitting around this little cramped room, and there's pizza boxes everywhere, and there's little window air conditioner, and they look like they've been in there for like 3 days straight.
Yeah.
And that's how you get shit done.
That's how you get shit
right?
done,
Like
yes.
you can't, you got to hire people that are good at the job and want to do the job.
That's right.
And, put fun games out. And, they want to go, oh, we're everywhere. But the problem is, if you don't have something that people want everywhere, it doesn't really matter. And that's something that a lot of people are having like a lot of trouble with. Like I said, Perfect Dark isn't going to matter if it goes to PlayStation because it's not going to sell big. Right. Same thing with Fable. Like, I don't think Fable is going to be a huge seller. It never has been. It sold, if you look at all of them combined, I think 5 million between 3 or 4 Fables, whatever it is. So it's not like a huge thing. It's like, kind of is what it is. It's never going to recoup.
Yeah.
It's from 2018 till 2026. It's never going to recoup the money that they poured into it. right? Because apparently they had to reboot that at one point and something, and whatever the case may be. So again, even if that goes to PlayStation, it's never going to recoup it. You have to worry about stuff like Ninja Theory, right? They did this game, Hellblade 2. It was actually kind of a step back, despite having more money and people and time to make it. It took them 6 years to put out a 4.5-hour game, and now it's going to go to PlayStation, and that's not going to do well on PlayStation, right? So what's going to happen to that studio, right? Like Microsoft, in my opinion, would have been better to not buy ZeniMax, not buy Activision, keep buying the smaller studios, get people excited about their brands. It's like now they want to put Gears and Halo on PlayStation, and that's going to be something that people look at and go, okay, let's try that out. But they're not going to stick there for long. Those games play slow.
Yeah, that's their data. We said that a long time ago. Yes.
Yeah, they're going to put Halo 1. There's no aim down sights. There's no sprinting. Like, people are going to get tired of that fast. Same thing with Gears 1. Like, I like it. I love Gears of War, but that game is so clunky and slow.
And people say this all the time, crap. They say it all the time. They say the game doesn't age well. And when people say, they go, what do you mean? Listen, I can't wait for the nostalgia factor. It's great. I understand that. But like you said, it didn't age well as far as the mechanics, the smooth play that people are used to now. You're trying to get a younger... You're trying to get... I know. No, absolutely. But you're trying to get a younger generation involved, right? And I don't think you're going to get that younger generation involved with those mechanics that we came through in 2007. Let me get Jay. So J-Dub, Jay, what do you think, Jay? You kind of, you can just scroll through Twitter for the past 48 hours and see what you got to say on this. And you've heard what Mag said and Crap and Wise. What do you think, Jay, at the end of the day? I mean, this is a situation where you have Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks, Alpha Dog, Roadhouse Studios. And don't get me wrong, PlayStation's going to get their comeuppance at the end of the show, too, after this topic, because they've definitely done their fair share of closings as well. But we were promised, and we heard 2 years FTC trials where, listen, everyone was saying this, influencers, Microsoft, everybody, the media, let's let Microsoft take over. They're going to make things so much better. And I mean, a lot of people yesterday were on X and they didn't sound like things, and this is people that were working for Microsoft. It didn't sound like things got better.
Well, here's the thing. I was always on record saying, why would you allow Microsoft to buy up a third of the industry of publishers and development studios? Why would you let them do that when they couldn't even foster the talent that they had originally?
Yeah.
And everyone, was staying up to 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning watching FTC trials and attacking Lena Khan and everybody and the rest of the politicians and shit.
That's right.
Wanting this deal done. Well, they got the deal done. Now here we are, right? Literally 2 years later, and they're only going to have, they're going to have similar number of studios as Sony at this point. They had, I think, at one point with everything collective, 40 some studios. Now everything is going to get shriveled up to about, from what I'm hearing, 19 studios, and basically half the studios. Now, what would have happened with all that talent and all of those studios if they would have remained private, right? Like, that's more games that would have came to us. Less games.
Go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
We're going to get less games.
Well, the thing, I kind of agree with what Crap was saying. And outside of the Bungie buy, which is still this massive question mark for Sony, a lot of people are going to question that. You can literally stand on one side of the aisle or the other on that one, but that's still a big question mark. But outside of that one, the smaller teams that they bought in Blue Point, and they went out and grabbed Housemarque, and they grabbed Insomniac Games, and those are the smarter buys. And when Microsoft did that with teams like Double Fine,
bought. That's why.
Yeah,
Microsoft panicked. They're like, we bet because, and I don't even know if it was for PlayStation. I think at the time
they were PlayStation did too.
Microsoft was probably really worried about Amazon and Google at that point, right? They were like, well, we better buy.
I don't think it was a panic buy because of PlayStation. I think it was a financial reason because I think what it was they had the sexual harassment scandal and it tanked their share price. So they probably thought at the time, oh, we can get a really good deal here because instead of $95 per share, they can pick it up. Well, I mean, if it was $95 per share like it was the previous year with the premium, the 45% premium, we would have been talking $140 a share. Whereas they managed to pick it up for, I think it was $94 a share, because the actual base share price was $60-something. So they essentially paid for Activision without a premium. But I do think that they probably went into it far too quickly without doing their due diligence and stuff. Because even when you look back on certain trends and things like that, there were a few cracks in the seams as well. So I think for Bobby for Kotick, he was like the guy is a piece of work. Don't get me wrong, but he's so financially savvy, and he just gave himself a $400 million golden parachute and saved himself from losing a ton of money. And he made all the other investors and executives at ABK rich as well, including I forgot her name, the Asian lady who everyone was championing.
Lulu Chain.
Lulu, yeah,
Lulu.
she made a cool.
Yeah, but doesn't it? Just think about it, guys. With everybody, we're dealing with that whole merger shit for a year. They finally got it done. Has Xbox gamers gotten any payback out of that?
No, because they didn't even. They
you didn't get
barely
no
even
exclusives out of it. You didn't get
Ex-
anything. If anything, PlayStation got timed exclusives with some of the ABK, some of the ZeniMax stuff. The Bethesda
Yeah.
stuff. All that shit. And then everything's multiplied anyway, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. If you look at it,
yeah,
they will have actually lost from it. Well, I mean, you gain on Game Pass, so that's one positive. But the negative is with all the like consolidation-based fat trimming and layoffs and things like that. You are going to lose output potential, right? Because if you lay off 15-20% of the workforce of ABK, I don't know what the exact number is right now. I just know it was.
Nib will be right back.
He knows it was what?
His mic cut out. Yeah, he's back.
So we know it was like over 2,000 last year, and this year we don't have a number yet, but we do know Sledgehammer, High Moon, Raven. A lot of ABK related studios were affected. Even King, they lost 200. So I assume once you do the numbers, it's going to be probably 20+% of ABK that's been cut. It could even be much more than that, which is a staggering amount, really. Keep in mind that the average based on studies post mass consolidation or acquisition is 8.5%. Usually a company cuts 8.5% of the workforce following a large scale acquisition, and this has more than doubled that. So that is, however people slice it, that is going to impact their output. And you can't say that ABK was running such an inefficient operation at the time that they let 20-30% of their employees slide. That's not what it is at all. It's just, there you have overlap, which is consolidation specific layoffs that you wouldn't have had before. And then you also have Xbox just being frugal. And the thing is, you have to remember, there's data doubling and all sorts of things that come into play when you acquire something like Activision, because previously ABK was getting cuts from Xbox and PlayStation and their own internal revenue, obviously on the games. But now once it's absorbed into Xbox, they are getting the same cut, as opposed to ABK getting an additional cut from Xbox. So there's data doubling as well. But yeah, it's an interesting one because this whole layoff thing, and I'm not trying to do like a Nib was right, because I don't think Nib or you guys here, I don't think we're necessarily smarter than other people. What I think is we're better informed. We have a more keen eye on the data and the numbers and stuff, right? So it's like having an educated guess or like an educated delivery of information versus just hopium and wishful thinking. And when I look at what's transpired, it's like, again, I don't want to I told you so, but I reported, and a lot of people reported that during 2023 and 24, after Microsoft acquired ABK, they had far bigger losses than they anticipated. So I'll just go through. Like Amy Hood mentioned that they believed they would have 3/4 of acquisition and integration related costs totaling 2.2 billion in losses before turning a profit, right? In reality, they posted 4/4 of acquisition and integrated related costs after the acquisition. It could have been more, but they stopped reporting, totaling 3.92 billion in losses. So for context, that is an extra 1.8 billion in losses. That's catastrophic. And keep in mind, ABK before would post like a few billion in profit every year. They went from posting a few billion in profit to 1.8 billion in losses. And I get what people are saying, oh, it's probably acquisition related stuff. But I really do think, based on just the fact that it's so different from what they expected, that they did not consider how much of an impact of cost and loss or with the management side of things that it could actually be once they acquired it. Because it's a bit difficult to be, being off by a few 100 million is one thing, but again, I repeat, they were off by 1.8 billion. 1.8 billion. People always go, oh, Concord cost this, so and so cost this cancellation cost that. Well, what about 1.8 billion in 1 year? How much worth of cancellations is that? How much worth of false strategy moves is that? We're talking nearly $2 billion. And we don't even know if that was the extent of it. There could have been losses following on. And then in addition to that, I'll just say the other thing is also, we know from analysts and data, like for example from Game Business, that this year Call of Duty has seen quite a severe drop in player numbers, to the point where it has lower player numbers now than it did in the previous years. Now, that is extremely alarming, because this year and the last release, Black Ops 6, it was on Game Pass, which is what, like 20, I know it's 35 million, but that's including core. Let's take away core. It's probably like 26 million people, right? So how do you have your game delivered to an additional or in a Game Pass as well, 26 odd million people, and then you have less player numbers than before it was on Game Pass? That's obviously a problem. And I remember we were having this conversation: will Call of Duty be the thing that finally pushes Game Pass into the mainstream? Well, I think now we have our answer, that it did not. It may have led to some extra growth on PC, because PC was coming from a much lower number, came from 3.1 million to I think 4 million, right? But overall, Game Pass has not seen a substantial growth. Like, based on the LinkedIn excerpt, we're talking about 1 million growth in the last 3 years. That's insane, especially when you've spent $74 billion and a further 8.1 billion on ZeniMax. So yeah, I think, like, again, when you look at the data, and it's not fear mongering, it's just facts, you can kind of see why what has transpired, because irrespective of all the PR, the numbers are painting a kind of a different picture. And the same thing with For the Motorsport and Turn 10, number 463 in the GSD sales annual ranking. 463, like, I can't even describe how bad that is. Even with Hi-Fi Rush didn't chart in GSD or Sakana. And again, it's quite an expensive game, 5 years development, 1,400 people credited to it. So all these things, they add up, and all I can say is it must be scary working at Xbox right now, because they're clearly very cutthroat, and if you fail or your game doesn't deliver, you could be on the chopping block.
So Nib, let me say this, because I'm going to throw this volleyball up to the panel. I'm going to read some super chats. You guys let me know who wants to answer this first, but Nib just said that, and that's one of the things I think right now. I do think it's very uneasy working over there, maybe uneasy working in the industry as a whole. But I want to ask this question here, because I ask it usually every quarter, and you can't say it out loud. You can't say anything about Game Pass. It's only great. It's great. Okay, so we'll say it's great. But how long will Microsoft allow Game Pass to go on as reports continue to show quarter after quarter that it's stagnant for quite some time now? Yes, it's go up here and there a hair, sure, but not nearly the number they want. I'm going to read a couple super chats. You guys think about that for a second, because as he said that, what is safe, what is not safe? Shout out to Liquid Tada. He says, at the end of the day, Xbox reports to Microsoft. Glinser says, I run shit here. He says, you just live here. King Kong ain't got shit on me. Denzel Washington in Training Day. He says, and that's Phil Spencer at Xbox. Shout out to Glinser. I appreciate that. Babor Country is here. The show has finally begun. Thank you, Babor, for this. He says, so much energy to a console that sold 15 million more than a PS2. Total lifetime sales in 24 years. Few liked it outside of North America. I believe he's talking about Xbox brand as a whole. Of course, Danelle Brown is here, everybody. Danelle is here. So, Mag, get ready for this one, Mag. He says, how much is it to get Mag removed from the show if he still has that ugly Bills Mafia hat on? LOL. Danelle's got to throw a crack at you there, Mag. You know that's just part of the show. Shout out to the great Danelle Brown. Babor is back. He says, yo, the arrogance, people never liked it. PS3 was $600 20 years ago. Factor inflation, it's like $1,000. That's why folks tried 360, and when PS3 fixed the games and price, they dropped the Xbox. Babor is very staunch on his PlayStation position. Mr. Grimm says, people, come on. This is not a big deal. Microsoft will fix this and make everything better. They'll put out another controller, and everything will be all good again in the eyes of the Xbox guy. So Mr. Grimm also giving a very positive look for someone named Mr. Grimm. But what do you guys think? I mean, is there something here down the road? And, you know, people keep saying to me all day, and we'll talk about the Helldivers 2 thing. Never say never, Mooch. Anything's open now. Is there a sense that with the cost of what Game Pass cost them, and they're not getting that return, and you can see other like PlayStation seemingly right now not wanting to have it on their system, Nintendo not wanting it on their system, and people not having the Xbox, not buying the console. That's a big minus. They probably weren't thinking that was going to happen this generation with having a $299 entry point with the Series S. That didn't work out at all. I understand people say PC Game Pass is still going up, but it's going up very slow. The numbers are not there. Is Game Pass something that is sustainable? Is that something they'll hold on to? Because you say, well, Mooch, they'll hold on to it because that's low cost for them right now. Anybody want to attack that one?
They have to hold on to it. If you ask anybody, what's the point of owning one now? That's the first thing they'll say, because they don't have any exclusives. You know what I'm saying? It's that is the lone thing that kind of sets it apart from anything, is just the day one stuff, regardless of, you know, the money pit that they've kind of found themselves in.
But crap,
sure they regret it again. Like, yeah.
Can I ask you a caveat question though, crap? My thing is this: they clearly found that it's not making the money that they want, and I think that's a partial reason, if not a major reason, for the pivot to selling games on PlayStation and everywhere, right? So the game sales do matter, and people don't like it when you say this. That's fine. Buy your games, folks. Honestly, really, buy your games. Microsoft's even telling you that. They're like, go over to PlayStation, buy our games.
The thing is though, Mooch, like I mentioned earlier, it's like, if you don't have the great games to draw people into that service, then you're not going to have the great games that people are going to want to buy anyway. So, like, it really starts and ends with making great games. It's just like whenever you play, like, and I enjoy Xbox games, but whenever you play them, it's not, you don't get that same feeling. I'm not even a PlayStation guy, but it's not the same feeling as playing through a God of War or whatever. Those games just kind of blow you away, like right from start to finish. It's just like there's a huge difference in the quality there, you know? I mean, like, it doesn't even compare. And I know like PlayStation's had some issues this generation getting out games or whatever, but the quality overall just doesn't compare. You know, whether, like, listen, I don't like Horizon Zero Dawn or Forbidden West or whatever, but the quality of the game is there. It looks gorgeous. It plays gorgeous. I just happen to think that that's a boring character and a shitty story. So I don't want to play through it. Right. So, but like the quality is there, and you can just tell that it's much more a quality than, you know, the stuff that, and I'll point out, like, they were able to make Horizon Forbidden West 4 years. It came out like 4 years pretty much exactly after the first game. So they're able to do that in 4 years. Right. And it's like, if you look at stuff that Microsoft is putting out, it's like, you know, Valve took that long and is nowhere near the quality of that. Or, you know, Hellblade 2 took that long and it took longer. And nowhere near the quality of, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, you can just tell. And it's like, if you don't have that quality there, then people aren't going to stick around. And it's the same thing with, like, Microsoft has a tremendous problem holding on to talent. Like, you know, Pete Hines left. You know, he was, you know, the big guy at Bethesda or whatever, but it wasn't just him that left. It's like Mikami left, you know, Joseph Staten left, Rob Ferguson left the Gears of War. You know, it's like Greg Miles just left, who was at 35 years at Rare, right?
At Rare,
Who did Banjo-Kazooie, and he left. Right, so they have trouble holding on to people. Like, even in the past, Peter Molyneux left Lionhead. You know, it's like the people that were running these studios, they run them into the ground, and the talent doesn't want to stick around. And That's all leadership problems. Like, look at, I know people are like, well, it's not all Phil Spencer's fault or whatever. It's not. Okay, so it's not, but still, for the last 11 plus years, this guy has been in charge, and he hasn't gotten shipped one game of the year contender. He hasn't shipped one banger where people are like, oh my gosh, I have to get one. And in fact, he went on live air and said they're never going to beat the competition, and a good games don't change anything, and all this. Like, he basically, could you imagine working for someone to have that kind of thought process, right? That's like I couldn't, Mooch, and we brought it up to like and equated it to coaches and things like that. Like, could you imagine, Mooch? You're a Giant fan. If the coach comes in, he's like, "Yeah, we're not going to beat the Cowboys. We're not going to.
We got no shot.
We're not going to. We're not going to beat the Commanders. We're not going to beat the Eagles. We cannot play them. We cannot beat them.
Right now, go out there and give it your all."
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, the fans would be pissed. Like, everybody would be like, what the hell are you doing? But yet, like, Phil Spencer has managed to keep his job, makes $15+ million a year, millions of dollars in bonuses, by the way. And, again, flat out lies to the fan base. And, again, he's got so many game cancellation stuff we don't even know about. Studio closures. He says one thing and does another. Okay, ZeniMax is about exclusive games where Game Pass exists, and then that changed their tune on that really quick. And so it's really just kind of, they can't hold on to talent. That should be a big indication. Like, look at even Mikey Barra. He left there again. He's like, I'm not going to stick around. And even on X, he's like, Microsoft needs to pick a lane, and I don't think that lane is hardware. Yeah. So it's like people can see. Like, between the lines, it's like Microsoft wants to kind of do it all, but they don't have the manpower, the talent to do it all. It's like, who's even running the coalition now, right? Like, who's running Halo Studios now? Who's running, any of these studios now? Like, you don't know who's running these studios, and that's a big problem. It's really poor leadership. I would say that the strongest leadership they still have for a studio, believe it or not, is the one doing Clockwork Revolution, because the guy is still there, whatever, and possibly even the guy who did Psychonauts 2. What is that studio?
Tim Schafer, Double Fine.
Yeah, Tim Schafer.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy's a good leader. He stuck around. I actually didn't think he'd stick around this long, but he has. And then the guy who runs the In Exile, he's one of the original creators of Fallout. And that game looks really good. So, there's some hope there or whatever.
Obsidian's also,
overall,
whether you like Obsidian games or not, Obsidian has been pretty consistent too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what they do with Outer Worlds 2. Like, I don't.
But again, we said
Valve didn't do great.
No, it didn't. So. And I think Outer Worlds 2 is going to be a step up from Outer Worlds 1, of course, naturally. But again, that's another one. Like, it's $80 first of all on competing platforms, and everyone's like, "Well, just get Game Pass." Yeah, so just pay $20 a month for it. So I mean, at the same time, it's like, I don't know if that's a game that puts butts in seats either. That's the only thing. You know what I mean? So I agree with you, Brap. I'll go to you real quick here. A lot of people are asking for Coach to chime in. What do you think, Coach? You're in. What do you think? I mean, you heard what Crap's saying. Jay, Nib, Meg. I mean, where are you on this whole thing, Brap? And now we know that Xbox hardware for the future is in question. And the only question I mean is are we going to get a traditional console in that sense anymore, or is it going to be an Asus Xbox or a Steam box? I think we're getting a Steam box from Xbox, basically. You know what I mean? Manufactured by, I don't know, Hewlett Packard. I don't know. So. And people, so people are like, oh, well, you're going to be able to play your PlayStation games on there. Yes, a year, 2 years later, sure, you probably will. But really, is it an Xbox because it has a sticker on it? I'm not sure. That's the thing. And people are excited for it, and you always use the word misinformation. It's not necessarily misinformation in this case, but I think it's just maybe misleading a bit to say the next Xbox console when it's really a PC.
Yeah, I don't think if it's a PC hybrid, it's not a traditional console in the way that Microsoft has traditionally released and developed their hardware. So I mean, there's that, right? But to go back to like Phil Spencer or Crap talking about Phil Spencer and just Xbox in general, and Nib and I had this conversation yesterday on Brap, which went live last night at 9 p.m.
Oh, great plug!
Thank you. But Nib and I were talking about this last night, that the Xbox that I came to admire and love because they put out great content 25 years ago, and through the 360 generation, that Xbox is gone. It's dead. And I was thinking about this too after the show, after Brap wrapped up last night. I was thinking about Phil Spencer in particular and Crap mentioned like the mixed messaging. That's a problem. The mixed messaging, and I got it. And look, Phil's done some good things, but I seem to remember more. And maybe this is because we tend to do this anyways, humans. But I tend to remember more than negative things. I feel like there's been more negative things or misses under his watch. Studio closures, just not being maybe as transparent as he should. The one thing that really sticks to mind is the 4 games. Don't get used to it. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but that whole the Xbox business meeting. And I look at, if we compare and contrast, and this isn't to console war, but this is just looking at the behaviors of the big actors in the industry: Nintendo, Xbox, and Sony. We don't see, and not that Nintendo and Sony are infallible by any stretch of the imagination. They make mistakes. All companies do. But there's not this dialogue around PlayStation, Nintendo, the way there is about Xbox. A lot of the dialogue around Xbox seems self-inflicted by them. What is you just brought up a question, which is the next Xbox really an Xbox? What is this ROG Ally? Is it a handheld PC or is it a handheld console? With these studio closures, what does that mean for the roadmap for future Xbox releases? Is Xbox now, with these studio closures, are they going to focus more on the big title releases, the annual releases, the Call of Duties? I remember Amy Hood saying something about the shift of the business being more software annuities and subscription services.
Yeah.
That to me screams more like, okay, we're going to focus more on the COD stuff, and less on the other stuff. And Game Pass is still going to be a big driver of recurring revenue for us. So, but we don't see these hiccups, these just major gaffes in leadership at the other players in the industry, Nintendo and Sony, and I don't have confidence, frankly, in Xbox. That doesn't mean I don't think they'll release games that I want to play, but if I'm just doing this for as long as I have and being an Xbox Live beta tester,
I had no idea.
Yeah, 25 years ago, and then comparing like those generations where, like Crap talked about the third-party exclusivity, the first-party games. Laura Fryer talked about their ability to release great quality games. I mean, Gears was huge when they announced that.
Yeah.
The Mad World marketing. The Xbox 360 had this cool factor about it. There wasn't this like back and forth change and pivot and strategies with the 360. It was very definitive. This is a console. It plays video games. We're gonna release great content to you if you join this ecosystem. If you spend money here, there's going to be content that you're going to want to engage with. We're going to work hard to deliver that. I don't get that sense. And when they did those things, when they executed on releasing great software, when they didn't stumble and pivot and have these business meetings to, for whatever reason, I don't know why they feel the need to address fans. But they do these things. They didn't do those things back in those generations, the Xbox One or the original Xbox, the Xbox 360. And those were like their most successful generations.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I go by that, the results of those generations and the behaviors associated to those results. And it's a complete opposite to what we've seen post Xbox One. That's telling.
It is interesting.
People need to pay attention to that.
It's interesting you say that, Brap. Meg, I'll go to you because I don't know if you have any insight on this and from folks you speak to. But Brap made a couple of points there that people were saying years ago. What you don't understand, Mooch, is that what's going on right now in the industry is changing. What Microsoft's doing is getting ahead of the curve here and this and that. But the old "if it's not broke, don't fix it" sometimes comes to play over and over again. And you have a situation with what they did in the 360 era and back, Mag, really kind of put Xbox on the map. And, they were like, oh no, when we put things everywhere, and if we buy all these big companies, and then if we do this, and we do a subscription service, and Nib reeled off the numbers for you. They're not making the money that they thought they were going to make from a lot of these acquisitions and these subscription services. And you have PlayStation. Yeah, don't get me wrong. PlayStation has its problems. Nintendo has some of its own problems too. Let's not ignore that. But at the same time, you see so much change in leadership positions. Crap mentioned it. Brap mentioned it. Like, you see these people leaving Bethesda. When Bethesda was acquired, they did that round table. Everybody was sitting there. I can't remember what outlet said it today, but they're one Todd Howard away from, that's not the Bethesda we all knew years ago when they were acquired. They're one Todd Howard away from leaving. Todd leaves, and a lot of the people that you go, come on, Mooch, it's Bethesda. They got this person, they left. So it's like, at the same time, I don't know if a lot of this is working in the way that the plan originally was. Meg, I mean, what do you think when you see that? Is it one of those, if it's not broke, don't fix it? Because now even the subscription service kind of being stagnant, what does Xbox do? They're like, if they didn't care about sales of games, they certainly wouldn't be putting it on their competitor's platform. It does seem like that at this point, it is a big question mark for Microsoft.
Mooch, that's an almost impossible question to answer in a short period of time, but I'll do my best because I talk really fast. But the thing is, I could tell you this: Game Pass is not going to go anywhere. The reason why is because that's still going to be an avenue to get people to the store,
right?
As I mentioned on this show and everything else. I'm not going to go into that again, but it's still an avenue to get people into that store. What will happen though, and I know this because I know people who work at Amazon and I know people who work at Netflix. And they all say the same thing. They say, well, if they don't hit the target numbers, what they do is that they target the users. And what I mean by that is that let's say you have let's say you have 25 million people on Ultimate, right? Game Pass Ultimate. They're like, okay, well, we needed 40 million. So how do we make up that 40 million, the 15 million? Well, we raise it $5. So if you raise it $5 for the 25 million and then raise it again in another year and another year or whatever else, you will eventually basically, the way I'm trying to say, you're basically trying to fabricate those increased numbers, right? So that the numbers are there, but what you're doing is that you're hitting the people that are already there. And by doing that, you're raising that price. They've done that with Netflix. Disney Plus did the same thing.
Well, Phil said that in his interview too, Meg. You're right. He said if we cannot get new people in, one of the only ways is to take the people that we have already and raise the price so that we're making more off the people we have in-house. So yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Right, so that's what they're going to continue to do. That's always been the philosophy when it comes to subscription services. I know this as a fact. I know people who work in those industries, and they tell me that exact reason. That's the exact game plan and policy that they move forward. Now, that being said, that pushes aside the Game Pass. Let's go to the next question you kind of brought up, the Nintendo, PlayStation situation of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They're going to do just fine. In that respect, like for example, Sony and Nintendo can continue to do their business practices the way they do because it will garner success as it has for decades, and that's fine. And the other thing is, let's not forget, there's different cultures when it comes to business practice. Japanese business culture is very risk averse. Okay, they are very conservative. And they're very risk averse, and as a result of that, they very rarely step out of the lane of something that is successful. What they do, and I know this is something that the Japanese use.
Did you just say doo doo? Sorry,
I know. I'm trying to speak and I'm tripping on my words a little. A Japanese practice is continuous improvement of the same thing. So what it is, it's just like martial arts. You learn your martial arts. You may be learning the same moves for decades and decades, but you continue to improve those things, right? That's a philosophy that the Japanese use even with their business. I know that as well because I deal with Japanese as well. And so when you deal with that, what happens is they will continue to do what's making them money and continue to try and improve that. So therefore, as a result, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Nintendo and Sony will continue to do what they're doing to great success. Nintendo recently, they're a little bit shady with what's going on with the Switch 2 and the pricing and all that, but things will level out eventually for them. As for Microsoft, and this is something I talk about on XNC with Colt, and I mentioned, actually, funny enough, we just talked about it last week before these things went down.
Yeah.
And I did talk about, I said, the reason why I think there's an issue with the average consumer, not the hardcore, not the people who are there. You get your 20 million, 25, maybe 40 million in total of people, like if you include PC. Those people are all there. They're there. They're going to be there, and they're going to be there next generation too. And whatever comes out the next generation, they will be there as well. But I have a feeling that what's happening is with the average consumer, there's a little bit of confusion when you're constantly changing the business plan, right? And the direction. Well, we're doing this now. And then by the time you say, okay, well, we're doing this now, you get on board with that, well, now we're doing this now. And then, well, now we're doing this now. Well, now we're doing this now. And then it's like, Jesus Christ, pick a lane. You know what I mean? Pick a lane and stick with it. And the problem is with the continuous pivoting, it creates mixed messaging for a consumer. And there's one thing that a lot of consumers, not us, not people in a podcast, not people in the chat who's listening to this, we are in tune with this business. We are in tune with this industry. There are a lot of people out there who are plumbers or business executives, or they buy it for their kids, or whatever. Do you think they're listening to Mooch or Mag or J-Dub or crap? They're not listening to us.
I'd hope so, Mag, but nonetheless, please continue.
But you know what I mean? They're not listening to 2-hour podcast. 2 hours, Mooch, not 3.
Sometimes 3 hours.
Yeah, I know.
That's
especially if you're on the fucking podcast.
That's Nib's fault.
Nib's fault and Crap's introduction. Okay, that's
right. That's right.
Anyways, all joking aside, these people are not in tune with the situation. So if you're constantly pivoting and people don't know what the hell is going on with this, that, and the other, then it creates this divide between the product and the consumer. And as a result of that, people say, well, I'll just buy the box that I've been buying for decades and just buy my Call of Duty and just whatever. Right? Mm-hmm. And that's what people continue to do, because let's also face it, customers, never mind, like even when I mentioned about the Japanese business practice, customers are also risk averse because they don't want to go out on a limb and spend, well, I mean, this is $800. I don't know if I'm going to like it or not. That's not what people do. If you have something that's a certain price or whatever, and they go, Jesus, okay, this is an $800 price tag or $700 price tag. Well, I'm just going to go with what I know. And if you have a very simple message and a very simple product, you have a box and a game to sell in a store, and you have your storefront, that's all a lot of people need. Because we also have to realize the arrogance of us. The arrogance of the hardcore. Mm-hmm. We think we run the industry. We don't.
That's right.
85% of us, if not more, are not the hardcore, and they're the ones who drive the industry forward with the billions of dollars. We are just such a small fraction. And I think that it's that reason alone that we can't understand why things go the certain way they do. You have to think like they do, not like us. You know what I'm saying? So that's where that happens there too. So that's why I'm thinking this is where it's all going, and that's why Microsoft continues to do. However, I did hear somebody else talk about this today. Sorry, one quick thing, and then I'll drop the mic for a moment. Is that I heard somebody say, it would have been interesting. It was actually a media outlet said it, and they said that instead of spending that $80 billion, never mind what I think was it Crap who was talking about it earlier. He was saying that they were going to use it for the AI. I've been warning about AI for months, and I'm telling you right now, 60+% of people in the tech industry are going to lose their job by 2035 to 2040. So that is 100% happening. But I think that someone else brought it up and says, what would have actually been more prudent for them? Instead of inheriting, see, that's the other thing. When they got the ABK deal, a lot of people were, very excited, obviously. And they're like, okay, this is great. Oh, we're going to get all these games and this and that. And then they say, oh, we're also going to inherit all this profit. What they didn't realize is that you're also inheriting the overhead of tens of thousands of employees, of rent, of lights, of mat leaves, of medical benefits, everything, all these other stuff.
That's right.
You inherited all that too. You also inherited the average American salary of $136,000 for a tech developer these days. So you inherited all of that as well. And then Nib, of course, actually had the numbers to back that up. So that's that story. But, they said wouldn't it have been different if they had actually invested the $80 billion, released a single console, and then just made a bunch of first-party games, still have your Game Pass, money had to third parties, and then just kept going from there. And then instead of those studios closing, those studios today would still be open on their own. Well, presumably would be open on their own. And then you could have money had it from them and kept their lights on or whatever else, instead of absorbing all those people and now thinning the herd because it's actually hurting the bottom line. So I thought that was a very interesting thought that it wasn't me, it was a media outlet that had actually said it.
The thing about it,
a very interesting point of view.
And don't get me wrong, that's a bit of Monday morning quarterback, because if you think about it, Mag, the whole idea that somebody probably was saying in Redmond at some point before in the middle of last generation when they came up with this idea was, how do we get an entry point that's low, and then we get people, but think about it, $299 Xbox Series S, and believe me, no, come on. Everybody remembers the media running with it. It's the best thing you can ever buy, right? So they said, get the S for $299, and then you get hooked on a $9.99 monthly service, which then went to $16.99, and now we're at $19.99. And if maybe not by the end of this year, sometime in early next year, probably $24.99. So they wanted to get you in early and cheap, right, at $2.99, and then keep getting you every single month. That was the plan. So yes, what you're saying I completely agree with, and that probably would have been money better spent on Monday Morning Quarterback, but originally that I think was their intention. They wanted to get everybody at that $19.99, $24.99, and like you said, that's what other subscription services do too. Can't blame Microsoft for that. They're all doing that to us.
No, I get it.
You know what I mean? No, but great point.
I got one last thing.
Go ahead.
One last thing, and this actually goes to what Brap was saying when Brap was talking about where the people are going. What it was is that the philosophy about 4 or 5 years ago, what Phil was talking about, and he was mentioning about how they were making games that were going to be unique and interesting and different and this and that, and what they were doing was not connecting with the gamer, right? And then what was happening is this: well, these games are kind of cool, but people aren't playing them. And so now you look at the quote that Phil said yesterday. He says here, quote, "We will protect what is thriving and concentrate effort on areas with the greatest potential while delivering on the expectations the company has for our business." So what he's saying there is that now, after all of this rigmarole, they're basically going back to the safe route of, well, we're going to basically be focusing on the games that are going to make us a shitload of money.
That's right.
Right? Like your Call of Duties, your whatever else, your Candy Crushes and all that kind of stuff. So you see how that philosophy completely changed. And that's not Phil. I can tell you that was not Phil. Someone up above said,
Satya.
cut the horse shit.
Yeah, Satya.
Oh, for
Satya.
sure, for sure. And you know what? Wise, you're Indian. You know how very straight arrow those guys are, right?
Yes, I do know.
I work with a lot of Indians, and trust me, they're no nonsense people.
Oh, you think
so he's probably like,
you think
cut the
Asians are
bullshit.
conservative? Indians take it another level.
Oof, yeah, I
me.
know they do. Well, I mean, you guys are like one country apart, for Christ's sake. So
Exactly.
you know the thing is, Satya probably showed up and said, cut the shit with the flying butterflies and the unicorn games. Let's get some more Call of Duties and whatever else in there, and get your Gears going and get this going. Rename the Halo studio, get all that stuff going, and start making some serious money. Never mind Project Latitude. That's a whole other conversation. So they've gone from the philosophy of this, we're going to do all this unique stuff, which was Phil's vision. And then the people above him said, get back to basics. Let's start making a shitload of money. So.
Well, let me say something here, and this is what I was alluding to earlier in my tweet, that what I'm about to say is going to rub a whole lot of people, especially some people on my panel, the wrong way. And I was reflecting about all this in my history with Microsoft last night and everything, and all the shit that happened and everything like that. And I've come to a conclusion that you can't escape. Okay, there is the investor in me. The investor in me doesn't give a rat's ass about all of this. 9,000 jobs, it's 4% of the population, work population for Microsoft. Fuck it, that's the job for HR to figure out that problem, right? And the majority of the cuts, over 30% of the cuts, were done to Copilot because Copilot was fucking trash and whatever, right? So I'm not really worried about that because my investments went up. I don't have to worry about paying for my kids' colleges anymore. Now, that being said, the gamer in me, gaming is a creative outlet. Okay, gaming, anything that you do, and if you create a brand, it's a creative outlet. The problem with Microsoft, and to a certain extent, Apple, and to a certain extent, even now Google and everything, is that when a corporation, especially a tech corporation, gets really fucking big, creativity dies. Okay, and that's the problem with Microsoft from the beginning. They do not know how to cultivate creativity. They copy. I mean, let's go back to the very beginning of Microsoft. What made Microsoft was the GUI interface. And who do they take that from? They took it from Apple. They added their tweaks and whistles and whatever, and they put it out. And there was a little bit of a degree of creativity back then. Because remember with the Windows 95 and the whole Rolling Stones Start Me Up, and there was a whole thing back in the day, Windows 95 coming out. That was when Microsoft was smaller and had creativity. But after that, as Microsoft got bigger and bigger and bigger, everything that they made, they copied and it died. And I mean, I hate to bring up old wounds, but like the Windows Phone, it was a copy and it died. Mixer, it was a copy and it died. Zune, it was a copy and it died. This is not what Microsoft is known. Microsoft is known for convenience. They put their stuff everywhere. But to cultivate creativity like games need to be done, that is not Microsoft. Now, yeah, didn't
Bobby Kotick tell Satya Nadella to his face that they shouldn't be in gaming because they're not creative? They're not a creative?
Exactly. I mean, name one thing that in order to create a brand, you have to be creative.
Yeah.
What do they have that people are like rallying against? Even, I mean, I'm not even saying this is only Microsoft is victim to that. I mean, look at Apple. I mean, back in the day, Apple was huge. Now it's just an iterative fucking phone, same fucking phone for the past 10 fucking years, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is what happens to these major corporations. And yeah, so is it a fucking surprise that these games are going there, these creative games are coming out in half-assed shapes and being rushed to market and dying as soon as they come out? No, because this is not what Microsoft is known for. Microsoft is known for, okay, yeah, give me a handheld that I can play Windows games and all that Steam games and shit. Yeah, that is Microsoft's forte. They make that life of mine convenient.
Mm-hmm.
But to say convenience equates to a console, that is different. To me, console means it's both hardware, software, and creativity. And Microsoft is lacking that creativity.
So let me, and you know what, Wise, I do agree with you. The creativity, the quality, I feel as they've gotten larger and larger in the gaming circuit has diminished. And I know a couple people point out a couple of golden gems, and they'll say, "Oh, well, Indiana Jones was good, and this was good." But overall, when you look at like Redfall, Starfield, a lot of the other games that came out this year, Halo Infinite. Again, I know.
And if Redfall made it out to people, you won't have to wonder how bad some of these other games were.
That's a great point, Crap. And you know what, Crap, I was going to go to you on this. You know, the other thing that was out there now, it has been shot down. But honestly, even though it got shot down, it makes sense that it got shot down. There was rumors yesterday saying that Phil Spencer will retire after the next console launch, kind of like how Jack Tretton left after PS4 was announced. And that happens, right? We saw Jim Ryan leave after a couple of years into the PS5. So, Crap, my thing was this. They were saying that Phil Spencer would retire after the next console launch. First of all, that doesn't really, at this point right now, I don't know how much Phil is dictating. We've even said on the panel, a lot of people in the chat are agreeing that Satya is making a lot of these calls. But like, realistically, Crap, they can't even they can't say that Phil's going to leave now. That looks even weaker at this point. So,
yeah,
you know, I mean, do you think? I think. Listen, just things make sense, right? This has nothing to do with like if you like Phil or not.
For a long time.
Right? He's been there for a while. He's got to be but when the next console releases, he'll be got to be in his mid to late 50s, right?
Yeah, he's 57 right now. And if you look at him, not to like pile on him, but he looks a little rough. You know,
he looks tired.
Remember when he first took over, it was like, you know, he was kind of, you know, he didn't look his age or whatever, and now he looks rough and stuff. But you know, again, I think that still he's the CEO of Microsoft Gaming. If you are like, and Satya Nadella and them admit they don't know anything about gaming, they have to go to him for some input, right? So it's like, but there's been rumors that he's going to leave for a while now. The problem with that is it doesn't fix any problems, especially if they put Sarah Bond in there. She's not a gamer. She doesn't know anything about video games. Whenever she come from T-Mobile, for some reason she got put into.
Yeah, but think about it, Crap. Doesn't that work better for Satya? Like Satya's not a gamer either. He's not into the gaming world at all. You can see.
Would you like? But still, you want to make money, so you would want to put someone who understands gaming at least in charge of that, and she understands no gaming. If you ever listen to her talk,
she can't be any worse. This guy,
well,
he's been ahead for how long? He's been with Microsoft for how
11
long?
years.
And guess what? Under his tenure, Xbox has been worse than ever. Matter of fact, people want to blame Donny D. But Donny D's Xbox is doing better than Phil Spencer's two Xboxes.
Well, I mean, he knew he knew the importance of having an exclusive. But I'm just saying, her and Booty and all those people need to go if they were to really try to do anything. But like there were rumors that he was going to go for a while now, right? It's like all this stuff looks really bad on him. Maybe he's waiting around for a win, but I don't know what that win would be, to be honest with you, because it doesn't look like people aren't going to flock to Xbox all of a sudden for any reason. To be honest with you,
No.
You know, it's just like and here's the thing: Xbox One was a clusterfuck, and they tried to steal gamers' rights, and it was $100 more expensive, and Force Connect, and no used games, and that ended up selling almost 60 million units, which is like more than double what the Xbox has now. So how do you step down from? How do you drop that far? With, you know what I mean? Like
it really is something. Really bad. It's interesting when you stop and look at that, right? And I mean, look at the Nib. This is really kind of your realm with the numbers. But when it comes down to it, you have a situation where we had two SKUs when they both launched, the Xbox Series X going head to head with the PS5 in price, and then Xbox Series S that was cutting it by 200. Crap makes a point there. You're leaving a generation that was 50, 60 million in Xbox One, and seemingly one of the biggest PR nightmares they had a fight out of with Kinect and DRM and all that other bad fate. And the media really wasn't on their side there. Then all of a sudden, everything flips. Everything seemingly is on Xbox's side going into this generation. Everything's looking up, and they happen to do worse. And I mean, listen, I was talking to a few people in the chat, Nib. I'll let you.
Spencer.
Phil Spencer, but it's the games. There was no games in 2020, no games in 21.
I don't think everything was looking up. I think they left last generation on an awful way, and they started this generation in a poor position. One of the issues with the Xbox One, it's not just the DRM fiasco. It's that, and I mentioned this in Brap's podcast yesterday, the actual fundamentally, the hardware design of the system was catering around Kinect as a pack-in and entertainment features. And what I mean by that is, in order to facilitate a more sort of broad entertainment UI aspects and cut costs to fit the Kinect in and keep it within a reasonable price, because at that time those sensors and stuff were quite expensive, they had to go with like DDR RAM instead of GDR. They had to do ES RAM, which was only 32 megabytes, to compensate for the lack of bandwidth on DDR. But basically, yeah, there was a lot of cost cutting. So even if midway through the gen they dropped Kinect, which obviously they did eventually, it wasn't going to fundamentally change the base console. That was the baseline lowest common denominator that they were going to be held back by the entire generation, irrespective of whatever changes they made. And I think it's a similar thing with the Series S, right? Like, irrespective of even how performant the Series X is, unfortunately, is going to be to a degree pigeonholed by the Series S. And because any game design for the Series X has to fundamentally be designed with the Series S in mind as well. It's literally part of the certification criteria. So that is another thing that actually weirdly impacts the design on the Series X side as well, and what they can extract out of that. And then going back to the Xbox One, I think like even from like obviously games is the fundamental thing, not the hardware. But if you look across the board, like a lot of their franchises were in major decline, like Gears 4, Halo 4, Halo 5. Forza Motorsport started seeing decline. A lot of the third-party deals that they had didn't really hit. Quantum Break didn't really hit. Sunset Overdrive didn't really hit. So all these kind of experimentations, they spent 75 million, I think it was, on is it 75 or 100? I can't remember. On Tomb Raider timed exclusivity, that wasn't really the answer to Uncharted that they were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
They had Fable Legends cancellation, and I believe they spent 75 million on that as well. So obviously in those days, consider inflation. In those days, that was a huge amount to be lost. To be canned. Crackdown 3 as well, huge investment into that. They were trying to do this whole cloud computing thing where the cloud would help with physics assistance, and it basically didn't pan out because of the latency issues, etc. Like you cannot do fast instance dynamic gameplay over the cloud because it's just not quick enough to compensate for those kind of physics based systems. So that was a big cost sink as well. So across the board, I think Xbox One had a lot of issues, and then the reason I say it kind of curtailed into the Xbox Series is because remember that console, and we've spoken about this before, again looking at the market as a whole, that console launched without any exclusives at all, literally any. I remember when I bought it, you know what I played on it? So I bought 2 games for it. I bought
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah, Valhalla, and I bought that, and guess what? I took it home.
There you go.
Series X. Sorry, at that point we thought the Series X was going to be the much more performant system, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, at least that's what the marketing told us. Even though the developers were saying otherwise. I have a whole list of developers who are saying, no, we think they're going to be really closely matched because of X, Y, and Z. But YOLO, at the time, the marketing was that. So anyway, Valhalla drops, and I come home and I watch the friggin' Digital Foundry video, and then I watch one other analysis. And lo and behold, it performs a lot better on PS5. And I'm like, what the fuck?
What happened?
I took it back to the shop and I swapped it for the PS5 version. So the only game I had on the Series X at launch was Yakuza. I think it's called Like a Dragon.
Like a Dragon, yeah.
Which was a fun game, right?
It was.
Not exactly not exactly a showcase or anything like that. Like it doesn't even look very good graphically. But I remember thinking, like, even from the offset, so you don't have any like first party exclusives or even anything tempo. On top of that, like the controller is the same, the UI is the same, and then on the same time, I've got the PS5, and you've got Astro's Playroom, you've got Demon Souls, which was freaking insane visually.
It is, yes.
And it comes with feedback. It still is even now. And then you had Miles Morales, and you had a few other Sackboy and things like that. So there was something there. The UI was totally different. I didn't think much of the UI, but it looked cool. The controller was like the big selling feature for all of my family. But
I never thought the PlayStation, and Crap will attest to this, I never thought the PlayStation controller would become my favorite. I didn't like the PlayStation. I mean, don't get me wrong, the DualShock 4 was a good step up from 3, but it was still not very good at all. And this one, the DualSense, especially the Edge, I use across the board.
It's funny, isn't it? Because like the DualShock was like ratty and cheap feeling, and
sounded like it was going to break.
And the Xbox One was like the premium one. But now when you look at the Xbox controller in comparison to the DualSense feels
I'm playing Expedition 33 on Xbox, and there's a lot of vibration that happens from your combat, and it's just like it rattles like mad, and it's loud and clunky, and it's just doesn't feel good. It does not feel very good.
So anyway, so you had that as well, and I think someone mentioned earlier that they're talking about casuals and hardcore, but what I've always found is even though the casual market does set the ultimate precedence and viability of a platform and their product, the reality is actually the initial hardcore do set the trend. So it's the casuals that look at the hardcore. What are they playing? What are they buying? What's got the buzz right now? What are people pushing online? What social media saying? What are people playing at their home? That friend that has all the technology, what's he on? What's he showing off? And it kind of trickles down into the casuals. So I think right off the bat, there was an issue for Xbox, and there was a win for PlayStation from the hardware to the design. I actually don't like the design of the PS5. I think it looks dooky as hell. Like, to me, it looks like a proper gamey friggin', like Asus, turbo graphics kind of design. I'm just like, what the hell is this shit, man? I just want a slick box that looks real premium in my living room, but this shit looks like an alien. But I understand the marketing. Like, I used to be in marketing, so it's like I get it. This shit stands out. Anyone who comes into your living room, it's a friggin' like instantly they're like, whoa, what is that friggin' ass alien looking thing?
And now it's visually known, so now people go, oh, you have a PS5. Like, it's immediately sticks out. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I do agree with you. But the one thing I said when the consoles were launching back, when 2019, when the advertising was happening before the launch in 2020, I said the only thing, and me and Crap were talking about this, I said when it comes down to it, some of the easy, simple things when you go out and put $500 out of your pocket and to buy a new console, you want to have a great looking design for a console, a new controller, a new UI. So when you come home, it feels like something new is in your house. Now, the Xbox had the same UI as we left Xbox One and Xbox One X. You had the same controller, and you also had a black cinder blocks, right? It was just a rectangle, and that's it. And I was like, okay, don't get me wrong. When they showed the insides and they showed it come apart, and they were doing that 3D illustration on CAD, I'm like, okay, that looks pretty good, or whatever they're using, Creo, I don't know what the hell they're using. Yeah. But like when they were doing that and showing that, I was like, okay, that's actually pretty cool. But other than them showing that 3D graphic, I'm like, it is just a block. Everything just looks so plain.
I'll be honest, when I bought it, like genuinely, I'm not just saying there's no fanboy shit, like it's just my true feelings, right? And I know a lot of people had the same sentiment. To me, it felt like a mid-gen refresh. Honestly, it felt like a mid-gen refresh. Like, especially the games I was playing, because there was no benchmark pushing titles, there was no new exclusive. But at least even on the PS5, even though there may not have been something as state of the art as like visually as say like a Killzone Shadowfall, but Demon Souls and Miles Morales, they were obviously Demon Souls is PS5 only. But the point is, even when you play Astrobot and you feel the rain, every drop of rain in your hand, and and when he's walking around, every different friggin' type of surface you can feel through your hands. That there's no way you can say that doesn't feel like generationally different.
I will say this though, Nib, and I think you'll agree with me here. I think where we are now with the PS5 Slim, just to give Sony a little bit of critique here, the PS5 Slim and the PS5 Pro, that's where I think the size should have been for them, not that that massive PS5 day one. That thing was, you know, I mean, you take your monitor and face it vertical. It was almost reaching the top. The thing was, you know, just enormous. Yeah. So now to have this at this should have been the size I think it launched. They probably should have went with. I understand. I get the technological side. I understand the parts coming down. Exactly. And I remember when they did the breakdown, the amount of copper that they had put in there for heatsink. I mean, my God. Exactly, my God, that's more than that's more than plumbers would steal from you. You know what I mean? That's that was intense. But
literally, people raid your house to sell that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I get it. But again, like you said, they went with a very different type of design, which is like high clock speed and lower compute, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas Xbox went with a low clock speed and higher compute. But the problem is with the Xbox's design methodology is you need a larger fab size, you need more APU size, and it's more costly to produce. Whereas on PlayStation side, if you have a much higher clock speed, you need better cooling. And the way they got around that was, one, to use a shitload of copper and have a larger size, and two, to have liquid metal, right? Liquid metal is much more conducive than, like, you know, traditional, applicants and stuff. So but yeah, we're going on a tangent. But the point is, like, I do think even the start of the Xbox was riddled with issues, and it carried forward, because you think about it, right? PlayStation had a year or two of severe hardware stock issues, right?
Yes, they did.
It was it's like God himself handed Xbox a silver platter to run away with it, to make a difference.
Yeah.
And they really fucking squandered it. They didn't have nothing really compelling. And in the time where you couldn't even buy a PS5, even if you wanted, right? And if you did want it, like, you have to pay up the arse, like premium prices.
Yes.
And even then I started seeing the difference in demand, because like StockX would have like PS5s at like 400-500 above asking, and then they would have Series X's at like 200-300 above asking. And I'm like, oh, that's quite a difference in demand, even though they're selling similar numbers. But yeah, and in that time they did not make the difference. They didn't have those compelling exclusives or releases or whatever. And by the time PlayStation did get stock, that's when they dropped God of War Ragnarok. It's when they dropped Horizon Forbidden West, GT7, etc. in 2022. And that's it. After that, there's no coming back from that. They just dropped like 3-4 big tentpole games that everyone kind of wants, and after that it was game over, I think.
Yeah, no, I do agree with a lot of what you said there, Nib. And I have a couple super chats here. By the way, it's that time of the week, everybody. I should have a sound effect and like all kinds of different things that come up on screen. Shout out to Aaron. And, you know, Aaron, big fan of the show. Aaron's been here for a long time. I'm a big fan of Aaron. I like that Aaron goes back and forth in the chat. So shout out to Aaron. He goes, still talking Xbox, huh? Aaron, it just happened to be the biggest news story of the week. But other than that, yes, we're still talking Xbox. We are going to be going over to Helldivers 2 right now, Aaron. So I know you're excited about that. But it's that time of the week when Aaron asks, are we still talking about something he doesn't like? Yes, please.
Mooch, I noticed on Rap's podcast, maybe you should start with the game talk first, and then that way all the Xbox fanboys won't get in it.
No, I love Aaron. Honestly, I really do. And I know he gives the chat a run for their money. So shout out to Aaron. Go ahead, Wise.
Yeah, but Nib, you were talking about how you feel the Xbox downslide started in the one generation, and I think that's all. I think that the downslide actually came in the
earlier.
360 generation.
I agree. Connect, yeah.
Even before, like, remember they were on the 360, they did well, they had all these IPs, remember BioShock, all the games, like they were hitting at on all cylinders. And then they're like, okay, well, wait a minute, we don't have to create anything first party.
Yeah.
They closed down Lionhead, they closed down all of these. Oh, they're gonna come to us anyways. And then they went into Connect, and that is where it all went. When they said, okay, they told all their third parties or second parties, oh, go fuck yourselves. That is the problem. That is the problem.
So, I can offer a bit of context on that, interestingly enough, because, I do think like a fundamental component of that was actually Connect, because I'm trying to find my tweet if I could find it. But So there was a few developers who spoke in candid about what was going on behind the scenes. Remember, this is the time Laura also left, the lady who did the video the other day.
Mhm.
She left in the middle of the Xbox 360 generation. And it was in the second half of the generation that not only did their cadence of releases slow down, but they switched to Connect Pivot. And the reason the Connect Pivot is more detrimental than people might realize is because behind the scenes, there was so many cancellations going on. What was happening is, and I had an example for Rare. I wish I could find my tweet so I could pull up the games. I have a list of all the games that were cancelled. It's like 13 games, I think. But basically, what was happening was Microsoft was indirectly saying, if the game isn't going to be for Connect or it's not going to be family friendly, we don't want it. So Rare and other studios were iterating these different ideas and designs and just kept getting shot down. And I think that is why there was a much worse cadence at the very tail end, because behind the scenes, they were trying to push a certain type of design and a certain type of game for their next project, which was already in mind, which was like chasing the Kinect thing and the Xbox One as well.
So, Nib, and I don't want to cut you off. I do want to read a couple super chats here. Shout out to Clutch. He says it's obvious Microsoft don't want the Xbox division. They should just sell the entire Xbox division. They can probably sell it for billions. I could see Apple buying the division. Now, that's something that they've been saying for a very long time. Shout out to Glinser. He says Xbox fans on ROG Ally, pardon me, it'll play Sony games. Win. Andy Hart says Phil Spencer didn't save Xbox. He killed it. Shout out to you guys. I appreciate all the super chats, guys. I do want to move over real quick to the Helldivers 2 news because not only Aaron, but a lot of people are here for it. J-Dub, I kind of want to start with you on this one, Jay, just because, let's be honest. So Helldivers, one of your favorite games. I know that you play it quite a bit. Opening month and a half, me and you were playing that quite a bit as well. Shout out to Craig as well, and a few others that I think Link joined up with us a few times. I got to ask you, so what's your take? I'm not even going to put words in the phrase. What do you think the news you heard this morning? What's your take on the situation and what it really will result at the end of the day? I know right now everybody loves to get out there and put their 2 cents out there. I even put mine out there to just say, everybody, let's hold up and see how this thing does. I have my reasons, but I want to hear what you think, Jay.
Okay, well, as Helldivers 2 being one of my most played games, I think I got over 130 something, 140 something hours into the game. I play it pretty much every other day, if not every, definitely on the weekends. I play it a lot with, like you said, with the crew. Great game. I thought about it, and obviously, I've been playing it for a while. It's a great game. It is a live service game, and Mooch, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Sony just have some kind of like meeting or whatever, and they talked about the status of PlayStation and
Yes,
how they're gonna basically keep things, hold the strategy,
not
keep
pivot.
things the same.
Yep, not pivot. They're going to stay with what they said they were
Not
going to
pivot,
do.
they're gonna
That's
stay
right.
with the course,
Yep.
and with that, they kept iterating like they told us multiple years ago that where it makes sense, the live service games were going to go to other platforms because they need the large install base. That's just live service game, and I consider Helldivers 2 a live service game, but if you look at Twitter, you'd swear it's a single player story driven game like The Last of Us or God of War. So I didn't think, right? And it's crazy. I didn't think it would be a big deal as big as it is. Especially because most of the people who are complaining and whining didn't buy the game and don't play the game.
Right.
But I don't know. I consider the console war to be over, right? And so once the console war was over, I thought it just nothing kind of going forward really matters. As it seems like Xbox is kind of exiting the hardware space. They're moving into other avenues.
Yeah.
So, they're not really competing with PlayStation anymore. So I didn't think putting a live service game, just like Herman Host and everybody else from Sony then told us, that has been happening for quite some time now. I didn't think it would be a big deal. And I'm kind of almost shocked. Like, out of all the games, right? But this game?
Yeah.
Like it's made by Arrowhead, which I think they've what can I say? they've proven themselves
Yes.
to be a good studio now because they've, the first game was okay. It was really good on the Vita and the PS3. I think it came on PS3 or PS4. I can't remember, but I know I have it on the Vita. But so they've proven themselves to be able to make a game, and it's not a big AAA game. It's a nice game, and it does what it does well. It's a live service game where you need more and more people there. I just didn't think that them putting that game on Xbox or even on the Switch. I just didn't think anybody would care. But clearly everybody lost their fucking minds. And again, maybe it's exaggerated because of the news that happened with Xbox yesterday. Maybe, now, obviously we got those people that got the bad news from Microsoft yesterday or looking for some kind of way to pivot from that. And so maybe that's amplifying it. I don't know, but I'm seeing a lot of Xbox dudes, a lot of PlayStation dudes that don't play the game and didn't buy the game. I see them upset saying, hey, this is a first party game and everything else is coming now. And I'm like, are we gonna do this whole outrage thing when Bungie's when that game comes out? What's that Bungie game?
Marathon.
Marathon. When Marathon come out or Fair Games or any of the other live service games come, are we gonna keep doing this? I feel like it's a dance. We keep doing the same dance, but every time, it's like you've never danced before.
Well, that's the thing. It's the PC games, Xbox or pardon me, PlayStation games going to PC. Then PlayStation games were right, and then you had a few of them like Marathon. And when they bought Bungie, we found out those were still going to go there. MLB The Show. Made by a PlayStation studio, going everywhere. I understand I understand that they're saying it's the first published game by Sony. I completely understand that, and I get it. I really do. I understand. But to say that when we went through this with the minute that the games were going to PC, everybody was like, the console's dead. That's the end of the console. Then when MLB The Show finally was going to they're like, oh my God, we're seeing the PlayStation Studios logo show on the Xbox. I never thought this day would come. Remember all those tweets and all those videos? The media outlets, everybody was running with it, right? And then now
Sony's pushing.
Bungie, right?
I just want to say this real quick because I know you guys are going to agree with me. This is that it's just 4 games moment for PlayStation fans. And I know a lot of people aren't going to believe that, but look, MLB The Show, that was a different situation. Major League Baseball said either put it everywhere or lose the license, and MLB publishes that. 505 Games put Death Stranding on Xbox after Sony gave back the IP to Kojima, and Marathon is self-published by Bungie, not PlayStation.
So Sony, but
their whole agreement.
One second.
Their whole agreement. Yeah, go ahead.
Sony owns Nick's. They own a bunch of publishing studios.
Yeah.
So would you rather for them to pay a third party to put this game out, or would you just rather them to have somebody internally that's literally what they do?
Well, the main thing that's
what I'm asking.
That I didn't understand this move. It was shocking. There's no install base on the Xbox side, and they don't usually buy games, right? They only play stuff that's on
Game Pass,
Game Pass or whatever. So that
but it's a $30 game, and even if
40,
they were lucky
40
to get
Jay.
$1 million, okay, $39, right? Even if they're lucky to get, let's say, maybe 700,000, maybe $1 million, right? Who knows? Maybe they luck up and get $1 million. It cost them zero to port what's already there, and we've seen that before. But we're asking, why do you keep porting these games? Like, who else is there? Right? It's like, why do you keep doing this? And like, they're like, hey, listen, the game is already there.
Listen, I told Mooch this morning this. I was like, they just threw Xbox a life preserver. Xbox was the Titanic and sinking. Everybody was down. And then today they're like, well, we're a dead platform. How come Sony's putting their games on us, right? It's like because I would have never thought, a platform
that
with
game
that
is coming anyways, isn't it?
That
game is going to be eventually coming anyways. If that game is a PC game, that game, when whatever Keenan or whatever the shit comes out, that game is coming to an Xbox.
That's what I was going to say.
They might as well go out and get the positive buzz about it.
That's the thing I don't understand. Just a couple of days ago, before the bad Xbox news,
that's not really happening, man. That's why. Because again, and I stated, I don't know if you were here earlier when I said this, Wise, but if Microsoft keeps saying their business, right, and they're cutting all this stuff, how can they afford to release a platform that people don't have to go to their store to buy games for. They earn $0 if somebody were to go buy, like, first of all, it would be insanely expensive because you can't subsidize a box that has these other stores on there, right? Second of all, like I know, like nobody has mentioned this. Why? It's like if anybody has an answer, right? So let's say they come out with this box and they're like, here it is, $1,000. It's got a Steam store on there. Well, right away, if you're buying the Steam games, Microsoft gets nothing from that from third-party games. They even get less for first-party games if you buy it on there, right? So they're making that's billions less. They get nothing for microtransactions from third parties. They would have to remove the paywall for gaming online because you don't pay to play online on PC. So there goes billions of dollars right there. They would also have to lower the price of Game Pass all around because PC Game Pass is $10 cheaper a month than console because consoles are paying to play online. So are they going to give up billions of dollars to add these, like, when they're doing all this because it's a quote-unquote business and they need to make money? Like, I don't see how that would work.
No, crap. The whole push for Steam and all that stuff from Microsoft's standpoint is so they don't have to deal with hardware. They're moving out of the hardware business. They're going to let third party do that. They license out the name and brand, so they don't have to do any R&D. That's somebody else's problem. That's Lenovo and Dell and MSI and those guys. That's those guys' problem. That's
and
what
if they
Microsoft
don't make the money, that's Lenovo or Asus's problem, not Microsoft.
Yeah. Microsoft don't care right now. Microsoft is like, shit. We're putting. I mean, technically, Microsoft is going to make more money off of putting their games on Nintendo Switch 2 and the PlayStation more than they've ever had trying to sell it to Xbox. It's just because of
I'm
sheer
just saying,
number,
like, when it comes to PlayStation,
But also, like,
this is
what are the top two selling Microsoft games on any console?
Call of Duty,
Call of Duty, and
and Minecraft.
Minecraft.
And they're gonna make they're gonna make profit off those microtransactions anyways. So I don't.
Crap. What if Sony technically, they wanted to beat Xbox, obviously. What if they don't want them to die, right? What if they want to just keep them, keep them there, just so
You know how many
they have to keep. You don't understand. Microsoft's main purpose for Xbox as a brand is it's one of the only two consumer facing brands that Microsoft has under their stable. One is Surface and the other one is Xbox. And one of the main purposes of Xbox is just good buzz. Like, otherwise, if you got rid of Surface,
but it's been negative buzz for the last
Xbox.
15 years.
It's just strange to me because Sony
to us as hardcore. But the problem is, to an average person, Xbox is the nice brand. They make games. That's how they see it. And that for Microsoft,
but clearly they're not buying it, right? Clearly they're not buying it. They've sold what 20? Because the reports came out. We saw the guy. There was only like 20 reported 25 million Xboxes out in the wild.
Yeah,
you guys remember that?
It's not,
I think about
it. I would say
25 to 30.
25.
Yeah.
So I mean, clearly, who cares if just some average Joe Schmo say Xbox is okay? They're clearly not buying the Xbox. They're clearly not buying the game.
Yeah,
so
I get it, but it gives them hope. And it's like, Sony was like, they put that Horizon Lego game on Switch, and they were like, F you, Microsoft. It's just like, it seems like they go out of their way to piss on Xbox, but then here they are. Probably took them 6 months to port this game. So, I don't get it. They're spending this money to get exclusives and exclusive third-party content and all the stuff, and then they go and
maybe they're trying to go after that.
I don't know.
Okay, crap. Hear me out. What if they're trying to go for the Xbox gamer? Maybe they know, hey, Xbox is getting out of this shit. Those gamers need to go somewhere. Right. Instead of them going to PC or Nintendo or somewhere else, we want them to come here.
Yeah.
So I was going to speak on this with some insight, right? Like, so I know the fanboys will say it's crazy, but it's not actually crazy because the PlayStation executives actually told us this themselves. And I put 2 tweets about this, including the video clip of Herman Hulst and Nishino saying exactly this, that for them, and I don't have the exact quote to hand, I'll try to search it on my phone right now. But basically for them, they said they're going to do some experimentative releases to try and essentially draw people over to their ecosystem, right? They also said that was the strategy with PC from the beginning, the day-date strategy. The staggered release strategy. They said it's not just about getting additional sales, but drawing PC consumers who no longer want to wait for the releases to quote buy sequels on a PS5, right? And they said, and again I quote, so far that strategy has been working well for them, right?
Yeah.
So it was a similar thing with Lego Horizons. He said bringing younger audiences over to the PlayStation platform. Like they said, that could be a compelling reason for them to consider it. So there is always a chance, like you said, not only do they get extra revenue from Helldivers 2, not only did it not impact the design of the game, because remember, the issue with multi-platform development is that it takes away from development focus of a single platform or two or whatever, because you're having to simultaneously release on multiple platforms. But this is not what's happened here. What's happened is the game was already made for PC and PlayStation, and Nix's, another party, is doing the porting work. So it didn't actually impact the development of the game and its initial release at all. This is a post-launch sort of porting effort, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, what if people really enjoy it and they don't like the direction Xbox is going in? Maybe it could make people consider eventually switching to
PlayStation
Xbox,
PlayStation said as much as well, and if you said this, I apologize. I was following along, but PlayStation said as much as well with their theory on PC, putting their games there. They actually, and I know people laugh at it every time it's said, but they said it. Yeah. They want the idea of putting that is that it would drive PC players to purchase a PS5.
Exactly.
And that kind of goes with Crap's saying, where he's like, if they're already down and out, well, while they're down and out, they're trying to grab all those players and bring them over. And how do you do it? How do you do it? You bring an 18-month-old game that's literally, and when I say life support, the reason I say that, there's 500 viewers on Twitch today, less than 40,000 people playing it on Steam. The game has been pretty much squeezed. The DLC's been out. The developer kind of got through. He went through the ringer for making the game and multiple DLCs, making it so difficult.
On a whole new game.
They're working on a new game. They're an independent studio. There's no. I mean, when you actually look at it. If you just look at the top level and you're like, why would they do that? It's open the door. Fine. You could say that, and I'm not saying anyone that thinks that is wrong, because I have people writing me right now. They're saying that, and it's fine. But I'm saying to you, like, you have to pick a game that is just come out. It's the new hotness. It's what everyone's talking about, and it's on Xbox, and it's a PlayStation studio. I'm right there with you. I'm like, there it is. That's it.
The only thing I would say, though, Mooch, the kind of conundrum to that logic is that, as far as I know, Arrowhead has already said they're not making the next game with PlayStation.
That's right.
Yeah. So this, because Herman Hulst's exact words were, they will want to play the sequels and not wait, so they'll buy a PlayStation. But that is not going to be the case here. So what is the messaging here? Like, an Xbox gamer is going to play this game. Oh, PlayStation has good multiplayer games as well, but then they're going to look to see what they have, and what do they have? Like, most of the multiplayer games from Bungie, all of them, I think, are going to be multi-platform anyway, and they don't actually have any other live service games outside of this, really. So that's the only reason I think, like, I'm not sure this will necessarily be a compelling strategy, and I do think, me personally, I don't have any issue with it going to Xbox.
Not as a matter of fact, I want more player base. A multiplayer game with no player base. Nib, there's nothing worse than going into an empty lobby of death, right? Like, you want to have this open. They made this world so, like, where people can just jump in and out of your game. You go in single player, people just jump in and out. You want to have a steady player base. I'm with you on that. I don't have a problem with it at all. People go, oh, you must have a problem with it. I don't.
Yeah. I don't think Helldivers 2 will ever have that problem, though, because it's a very, very popular game. But I will say, I get it from that perspective, and in the sense that at the end of the day, it's more revenue for them. But the only thing I will say, I wasn't even one of those who ever thought PlayStation wouldn't bring multiplayer games to Xbox. I've actually never said that, because the thing is, you can never tell what a company is going to do and what new management is going to do, what the new CEO is going to do.
That's right. That's very true.
So I like to never say never, really. But I will say to this, I do think it is actually still dangerous on PlayStation's part, because the thing is, this goes down to kind of diluting the brand. And I get it. Like, PlayStation is in such a strong position right now, and Xbox is basically nowhere. Like, their console hardware is a
Xbox the platform, Xbox the publisher doing. I think they're doing well. Yes.
On your podcast 3 months ago, I didn't think they would block the games on the Xbox app, the PlayStation Steam games, because they might not consider Xbox like that competition anymore. And this is kind of the same thing, but I do think complacency is dangerous, right? Because maybe it's one game, maybe you put another live service game, maybe you put all your live service games on Xbox, but very soon, just like Xbox found out when they did PC Day, eventually you can start capitulating your own audience, because then it's like consumers are left with the option, okay, I can get an Xbox and have Game Pass and get some of these multiplayer.
But don't they
PlayStation
sort of
games.
have that right now? What IP is only exclusive on the PlayStation console?
Yeah, but then you have to wait for them, right?
That brings up a good point, though, right? Like, how many people are willing to wait a year on average, and how many people are wanting to buy it?
I'm talking about in a future where they may do day date on Xbox for live service games. But because this is like
I don't think let's face it, Xbox won't be around when that happens.
Xbox wants to move everyone to a PC.
No,
that's what they know their growth is. They see that.
The Xbox console. I'm not talking about the whole PC shit. I'm talking about the console.
Xbox has never been a
It
console.
won't even be around by the time we're dealing with that.
So then
we're talking about a one console industry going forward. Nintendo is in its own lane. They don't see it as competition, obviously, right? And then so it's like it's on. Where are you gonna go, right?
Yeah.
Most
console
gamers don't want to go to PC, or else they would already move, right? And like you said, that leads back to the point. They don't want to wait. They don't want to have to wait years for something. I mean, the biggest game in the world in history is coming out next May, and all the top Xbox journalists and all those guys went out and bought PS5 Pros, and all these high-end 5090 owners are going to go out and buy a PS5 Pro, right, to play that game. So it's like, where else are you going to go? It's just, it's technically,
So the other thing what you're saying is leading on to is, if the next Xbox console or platform, whatever, I don't know what you want to call it, is a hybrid PC, then indirectly PlayStation multiplayer games, live service games are going to be on that system day anyway. So this is
because if it's on PC.
If it's on PC, so this is kind of getting ahead of that. Just
because you slap it, listen, you have a PC right now. Go and put an Xbox sticker on it, and then you can go and play any of those PC ports of PlayStation games like Miles Morales and Spider-Man. You can go do that now. Why wait years, and why go spend $1,000 for the next Xbox hybrid, whatever? Just do that now if that's the case. You know what I'm saying? It's no different.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, for PlayStation, if their live service games are going to be on the next Xbox day one anyway, because of it being a PC, then this could just be them getting ahead of that.
True, but what I'm saying is, it literally changes nothing, because it's classified as basically PC. Just because it doesn't matter.
The only thing, Jay, that I say, the reason they're doing
games, guys, just 4 games.
The reason
denial is not just a river.
Yeah.
I would have said there's no way. I don't see this happening. Like, what's to stop them from going, well, Spider-Man, that came out 2018. Maybe we can recoup a little bit of money. Let's put that on next. Like, again, nothing would shock me.
If Spider-Man goes, I'm right there with you.
We're right there with you.
I'm right there with you.
Listen, here's the thing.
I'm just telling you, man, like, you take a stand.
No, I get it, but crap. They've always been upfront about the live service stuff, right?
Yeah,
and now it's like every live service game that appears on PC, it's oh my god! It's like people go crazy.
Crap,
it keeps happening game after game after game.
We had this conversation, the same conversation when PlayStation started putting their games on PC. You said to be on air, you were like, Mooch, any day now, it's day and date. That's what Xbox said, and then it went day and date.
Yep.
I'm just saying, Mooch, you wait and see, day and date. They do it once, they're going to do it again.
Not at all.
I'm with you there. I'm with you there, but I'm saying to you, like, it's there. But that was years ago, and they said we're going to do this, and they said we're going to be staggered release, 12, 24, 36 months, depending on the game. They have stuck to that. Now, they came out and they said, when we buy these teams or we're buying these games, that are multiplayer, it can't sustain on one platform. You need a lot of gamers to play this game. What do? They stick to their word. People are like, any day now. Any day now. And we've been saying any day now for day and date in PS Plus and any day now on day one PC since 2017. I mean, eventually you guys are going to be right. It's going to be 2042 and you're going to be like, gotcha, Mooch. All right, you got me in 2042. I mean, how long?
They're giving you guys the ass out hug and then just a tip. I'm warning you. I'm telling you.
Hey, crap! Listen, crap!
I'm the guy in 2016.
I know.
When Phil Spencer goes, I'm going to put Quantum Break
I gave
on
you
PC.
Yes.
3 weeks prior to launch, and I'm like, that's
I'm
fucked
giving
up,
you credit
because you said this is an exclusive.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, and I told people, I was like, this is the slow trickle of the end of Xbox, and it has been, right? It's I get it, like, but it's just like for me, anyway, like having both consoles, having their games on PC to begin with, makes the consoles less relevant because like it was okay when like Xbox was doing it because PlayStation wasn't. So you still need it. Now you start to see more people, even you, Mooch. Whenever I see you online, it's on a PC. Like
I'm playing Warzone. I'm playing Warzone on PC or PS5. That's where I play. You're right. I play on PC.
But it's just like I'm saying, like more people I know are doing that, and the main reason is that they're like, I could just play on PC, and then I have both sets of games or whatever. And it's like I don't want to see the consoles go away. But I also know how these people are. They gave the Xbox fans hope all over the stories. Everybody's like, Uncharted next, The Last of Us next, right? It's like you have all these, like they all have this hope now. Like you know what I mean? Like before, it was like these other developers are skipping. Yeah, but these other developers were skipping Xbox because it's such a low priority platform, and now you have Sony investing their own money and time and studio to port this game over there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just one game, but you have people wondering now, right? You even have PlayStation fans because I saw the PlayStation fan comments. They're like, "This is ridiculous. I don't want," you know what I mean? Like we're paying for PlayStation. Why are these other people getting on it? And I think it would be much worse if it was single player. But still, I'm just saying, man, when old crappy came out and said it's just that they're playing the tip with you.
To be fair, Crap, those guys didn't buy Helldivers too, so.
I know. Hey,
that's what I'm saying. The people that are complaining are the people that didn't buy it.
They don't play the multiplayer games. Yeah.
And now you see the articles. If you want more PlayStation games, buy this. You know what I mean? It's just like, come on.
Crap. Those same people that are complaining about that are the same ones when it went to PC. They're like, any day now. That's it. Yeah. There it is. Yeah. And it's like, listen, my point, right? It's like my point is that's fine. I get it. At some point, we're probably not going to have consoles. We're not going to have any consoles. I hear you. Down the road, who knows? 10 years from now, 15 years from now. But my point
I'll
being,
just be a retro gamer at that point.
What I need to see, and I'm listen, crap, because I know you're going to say, Mooch, you didn't agree with me. I'm saying to you, I will agree with you when they have the minute that they put. I don't even care if it's an older game. If they have a God of War or a Spider-Man, I'm right there. And I'm saying it. I'm right there. But if they're saying we're going to put our multiplayer games, our games as a service games on multi-plat, and then they do that, and everyone's like, "Well, there it is," and I'm like, "What?
No,
there's what?"
Mooch,
I'm not. Anything's possible now.
Well, crap. Anything is possible. I mean, that's
Listen, August the 26th. Gears of War will be on PlayStation, and Helldivers 2 will be on Xbox. Are those games the same cap? Like, is it? It's like, hey, I give you a whole pizza and you give me a piece of toast. It's not the same. Gears is your franchise player.
Helldivers 2 is at least garlic bread with cheese. Come on.
It's the marinara sauce on the side.
We'll round it up, man. We'll all playing Helldivers and on Xbox, right?
Come on. Put some cheese on that motherfucker.
Listen, Helldivers 2 is probably going to be... Listen, Kojima put his game on the iPhone. Helldivers 2 might be on an iPhone at the next WWDC. So, exactly. Mag, let me ask you, Mag, what do you think, Mag? Because I know,
Hey, look, I got to go, though.
All right, crap.
It's almost 9:15. So.
All right, crap. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Guys. Good talking to you.
Great show, crap.
Don't fall for it, guys.
That's right, crap. I'm with you, crap. I'm not falling for it. I'm with you, crap. I want that on air.
It is only just the tip for me. So.
That's right.
I hear you.
Thanks, crap. I appreciate it, buddy. Mag, what do you think, Mag? You heard both points. I mean, and it's fine. Where do you fall when this whole topic kind of came about this morning?
First of all, I told you guys behind the scenes how I felt about it, and I put up a big tweet about it, and it actually it got a lot of traction just because of what I said. And
Naturally.
I said, what peculiar timing.
Yes.
How incredibly convenient of all times to be taught to say this, make this announcement. Now, I got not an argument, but some people came after me a little bit and said, it had nothing to do with that. It was a mere coincidence. I said, today, it's coming out August 26th, which means, as I explained to you guys behind the scenes, is that they could have announced that at any time. They knew well in advance. Not like they found out this morning.
Right.
They knew. So they could have announced this at the Summer Game Fest. They could have announced this a week ago, next week, whatever. But they chose the day after they did what they did. And I found that to be very classless. In my opinion, I did not appreciate that. I'm very happy, and I did say that as well. I'm very happy for the Xbox fan base that they get to play the game.
Absolutely.
I've been playing the game on the PS5 when it came out.
Yep.
I played it for a month with my wife and Noof Nukem and a couple of friends.
Noof!
And yeah, I know. At the Noof, I'm surprised he didn't sell his PS5 after that and buy a Switch and then back to PS5.
That's right.
But anyways, the thing is that that was it. I was done with it, and then I moved on or whatever. But I'm like, you know what? For the Xbox fans who did not have an opportunity to purchase it and didn't have a PS5 or a PC, I'm glad that they get a chance to do it. However,
but why are you criticizing? I think it's marketing genius. I loved it this morning.
Genius.
I was like, oh my god, I love good marketing.
If you're stupid. If you're stupid, which, well, let's face it, there's a lot of people who are. But what I'm getting at is that if it's here, let me read the tweet. I'll be very quick. It said, "What peculiar timing, a strange coincidence, almost like they want you to forget what happened yesterday. The jingling keys method of distraction has proven effective to the masses. I'm very pleased the Xbox community gets access to the game finally, but the timing is obvious." And I don't like that, because when you actually can see through the matrix, like most of us here can, and people in the chat, people who are attuned to what's going on, but you see what corporations do. I didn't appreciate it. I actually thought it was classless move to do it like literally 12 hours well, never mind 12 hours. People are still getting let go right now. They're just not talking about it out loud.
I'll speak for your own fucking self. I loved it.
I mean, but you know what I mean? Like, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. It just smelled wrong. You know what it's like, Mooch? You would know too. No, Wise, you're a teacher. Never mind, Mooch. You're in the corporate world. Here's the thing. Have you ever had that bullshit situation where they call it a compliment sandwich when they're doing like a review of your work?
Oh, yes. Good cop, bad cop.
No,
you know what I'm talking about?
You say it's compliment. They hit you with a compliment, then they hit you with you're not doing and performing right, and then they hit you with a compliment.
Right. Yeah, and then so like they'll say like, oh well, you know, the company's doing great and our department is doing really well.
Right.
Then they shit on you for like a minute.
That's right.
And then they say, but we really like the ties
really love it.
wear.
Yeah.
We love what you do for Wacky Tie Fridays. And then you walk out of there, and if you're stupid, you go,
and then they say you either resign
or
we fire you. You either resign or we fire you.
Yeah, right. But people walk out there, like the lemmings walk out there and go, I'm good. They like me and this and that. And like, you just got a compliment sandwich, idiot. They're just trying to make you feel good for what you did. But the thing is, this felt like a compliment sandwich where they're like, okay, look we did this, squirrel. And then everybody runs over the other way and goes, look, Helldivers, and then runs and stares at it. And then the flags came back up and the rah-rahs. And I'm like, guys, this is not right. Like, to me, it didn't sit right with Mag, okay? It doesn't matter what it is. Like I said, I'm happy the Xbox players get to use it, but it didn't sit right with me because I don't like, for most corporations, I don't like them anyway. But to do
the bad
like
press,
this,
the bad press seemingly was going to go. Mag's right. The bad press seemed like it was going to go on and on and on, and they were no way out of it. They do this. You say, jingle the keys. Everybody looked over that way. Now they're like, look over here. To pay no attention to what we said yesterday. Right.
Right, but you know the thing is, Mooch, this is what I had a problem with. It's not like they decided this morning saying, "Oh man, we just got shit on yesterday. Let's release the date for Helldivers for Xbox." No. They knew this a month ago, so they said, "Okay, here's the plan. We're gonna announce new hardware a week before, get everybody hyped up. Then we're gonna do the Red Wedding from fucking Game of Thrones, and then the next day." We're going to announce Helldivers, and everybody's going to forget about it. It's all going to be good. You know, like Goodfellas, it's going to be like it's back at the beginning. It's going to be beautiful. You're going to be back with your wife. Don't worry about it. Come on, Henry. You got to go back to your wife. You know what I mean? And it was like that. And they didn't make that decision overnight. This was planned in advance, and I don't like it, and I think it's slimy, and I don't like underhanded corporate things like that really piss me off. And I don't give a shit what side of the hill you stand on, whether it's green, blue, red, whatever the hell, PC. It's got nothing to do with that. I just found it to be a classless move by a corporation, and I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me. I will not stand for that when people's lives are being ruined, people losing their jobs, gamers are losing out on games, whatever the hell else, and all the other stuff that went on. And then you do this and you expect everybody to just turn around. No, not me.
Yeah.
So that's the way I felt about it. And it really pissed me off. So I think the timing was very classless, and it was very poor PR. For example, another example, and even Colt. Actually, I didn't even know it was happening until Colt pointed it out. He was doing a show yesterday with Gaz. And then he goes, Mag, check this out. He put his phone up to the screen because I showed up for like 2 minutes on his podcast because I was working. And then he showed me his screen on his phone, and Phil Spencer was playing Indiana Jones while everybody's getting fired.
Yeah, I saw that
too. Now, the thing is, okay, fine. He's free to do what he wants. Okay, whatever. He wants to go play Indiana Jones, go play Indiana Jones. But pick your battles, dude. Not the day that this is happening. You know that you're a public figure where everybody's looking at you. The perception is very poor, and I think it's I don't like it. It's a character flaw. It's something that I don't think that's like I said, very classy, and I don't think that's very gentlemanly. Like to do something like that. Like you're playing fucking video. Excuse my language. You're playing video games all day while people are getting fired. Like, right? Because you're saying that there's not enough production, and you're playing video games all day, and you're telling other people about lack of production in the service, so you have to thin it out, and you have to get better production and better value out of it, and you're playing video games all day.
I'll play. I'll play devil's advocate. You know, because the Xbox says they never do. Maybe it was a family member playing on his account. There you go.
For a public figure like that,
I don't know. I have no idea.
You got 7 million.
Just saying.
You got 7 million followers, and you're gonna let your 5-year-old fart around with your Xbox? I wouldn't do that.
Probably not
on the mic.
Right? Probably not.
You know, they were talking about him. They were talking about him retiring, but you know,
he's not doing that.
They dismissed that. But if you look at him, right, from when Xbox Series started to now, I mean, he looks like he has been through the fucking ringer. He's ready. It looks like
all these, honestly. But if you look at the start to finish of all these guys, like Jim didn't look great when he left. Phil, I mean, I'll be honest with you, you're in the limelight all the time. There's a microphone always in your face, right? And to be honest with you, Phil's really this is one hell of a tenure for him. No matter how you want to look at it, whether you're a fan or not.
On this, I did an edit, right? It had I think 15 or 16 examples or something of him flip-flopping or what he's saying.
Although with the song behind it. Nib.
Yeah.
Did you see Obama before he started presidency and after presidency?
Yeah.
He aged 90
Did you see
years.
fucking Joe Biden? The man lost his fucking eyelashes. What the fuck did you see, man, to make you lose your eyelashes? That's what I want to know.
I have no idea what's going on right now. But,
oh, sorry, Nib. Yes. No, Nib's like, I don't pay attention to your
I have no idea
your world politics. Go ahead,
I just heard eyelashes and Joe Biden.
Listen, P.
But,
Diddy went into his trial with a mustache and dark hair. Now he can't. Now he comes out like the hip hop
Grandpa,
like Gandalf. Yeah, and I'm just like, what am I looking at right now? Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no,
Mooch,
but that's the thing with with like Phil Spencer, like he's too in the media. And I always hear like fanboys say, "Oh, it's good. He's being transparent and messaging." No, the fuck he isn't, because the shit he says half the time doesn't pan out anyway. It's like
he's the whipping boy for Satya. That's all he is. He's the whipping.
I mean, literally, whatever he says, like I made a joke, like just assume the opposite is true or will eventually come true. Because that's literally what it feels like right now. Like whatever he says, just take the opposite, because it's not going to be the case further down the line with all the pivots and stuff. But it's like, dude, just stop, like take a leaf out of Nintendo and PlayStation's book and just stop talking about all these things, and stop going on like, fanboy podcasts or following fanboys and stuff like that. And, you don't have to like muddy the brand like that. Just keep it professional, keep it, but then again, I genuinely don't believe, as much as he has this nice guy vibe, I personally think that he secretly does rely on this console war nonsense and fandom and stuff.
Listen, a lot of people always say console wars and they give everybody on the panel a hard time. But to be honest with you, whether it's the media, whether it's even those that are in the executive seats, not just Xbox, across the industry, they all kind of play into it a little bit, you know? And it's like,
100%. I mean,
and like I said, as long as you
go around,
there's
like,
a healthy way to console war too. It's you can, right, Jay, you say this all the time. There's healthy ways to just have fun. You even said it today. You're like, guys, it's not that serious. Jay comes out with some great jokes. I always say, if you're not following Jay Dub on X, I don't know why you're on X. But like, in all honesty, that's the truth. You can, everyone's kind of console wars, and it's like, but they just immediately revert to it as poor taste when it's anything they don't like.
Yeah, but the only thing I would say is though, and no disrespect to anyone who has benefited from this, like, not that I care about your opinion, but the thing is, like, there's a certain type of marketing, right? Because if you lean on having influencers who have a history of misinformation and basically propaganda who push your marketing, that is less, credible than doing it the traditional methods, right? Because like, if it's just an article and a preview of a game, or so and so's just played a game, or they have this press release or whatever, that's one thing. But then when you go through influencers who essentially propagate misinformation, because this is the thing, right? If you use influencers, you can get away with more seedy things, because PlayStation on the PlayStation blog cannot put out misinformation about the Series X, right? It's not really RDNA, it's not this, it doesn't have that, and it's overheating issues. They can't do that, right? They'll get sued. Whereas if you use influencers as a conduit for your PR and marketing, that's where you can muddy the waters and essentially do less credible or disingenuous types of marketing, and you're doing it indirectly, right? So that's why, for me personally, I do not like that, and I have never liked that method of doing it, or inviting certain types of people who have a much bigger appetite for console warring as your a primary tool of marketing. Just keep it to the official sources. Then at least they're going to be beholden to a level of litigation and everything else that those other people might not.
So Nib, let me say this real quick. Mag, I know you say you have to leave. Mag, Face 23 just has a question for you, if you don't mind answering it, and then we'll do an outro for sure for you. Face says, Mag, the discourse on Twitter is this is just, and Crap had just mentioned this too, so give Crap some credit. The discourse on Twitter is this is just for a game moment with Helldivers 2. Do you guys think the whole slate of Sony games are going to Xbox?
Not a chance in hell.
No.
It's not. No, I don't know what. The thing is, I've said it a million times. I've talked about how, listen, multiplayer games and live service games will go there. They own Bungie, and Bungie's doing a live service game, whether this game succeeds or not.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Right, exactly. But the thing is, it's still coming out there. It does not signal that like Uncharted 5 is going to Xbox. Right. It's not. Nor is it ever going to PC day and date. I can absolutely assure you that. And I do speak to people at Sony too. They literally laugh when that happens. They're like, no, it's not going to happen. Their priority is still the console, and then the subsidiary income that they get from PC comes later on down the road. And it's something that they have no problem with. They are not changing their business plan. I absolutely assure you they are not changing their business plan. So there's no chance in hell it's going to Xbox. There's no chance it's going to PS Plus until such time that it's already been released on PC, and then they move it over to PS Plus so that they get the games afterwards, right? Like look at now. All the games that we bought at the beginning of this generation for the PlayStation are all there. Right? They're already there on PS Plus. However, they have made their money and then some and then some.
Right.
And then, of course, like I said, ported to PC, made their money over there, and then they put it on PS Plus. And then that's where they continue to get a secondary stream of income, right? Because now you've got people hooked on the subscription service as well as the PlayStation
They're
store.
Triple dipping now. Now they're triple dipping, right? PS5, then you got PC, and then you got subscription.
I was going to read Herman Holtz's quote from just 2 weeks ago, right? In the business conference, because he said, like, okay, I'll just read it. You're quite right.
They don't care what he said. They don't care. They don't care what the executives say. It's the fact that a game that was on their platform, that was not even exclusive because it was on PC, right? That was not even exclusive. But the fact that it's going to Xbox, it doesn't matter. They're mad, and that's the response you're getting. It doesn't matter.
The thing is, they keep reiterating that they're taking a very measured and
We know that.
it's
We
very
know
deliberate
that, but
approach.
what you're saying is very rational. That's what they said, but the people you're talking to right now who are upset, they don't want to hear
Irrational.
that. It doesn't
And they're
matter.
not
This is why,
rational right
like,
now.
He literally said
if you
the point.
notice, every PlayStation game that drops,
Yeah.
even though it's already stated ahead of time, it's going to be going on PC as well. It doesn't matter. The day it drops, the controversy start all over again.
Yeah.
People start crying over it. We've been going through this for like 3 or 4 years already.
3 4 years.
Right?
But I will say,
That's
like,
why. That's why I'm over it.
I do want to reiterate for the audience, right? He said, he mentioned that they're going to stick to the tentpole staggered release on PC because the tentpole titles, they're such a differentiator. The point of differentiation, I should say, for the PlayStation console itself is that they will showcase the performance and the quality of the hardware. So we want to ensure that players get the best experience from these titles. We're very thoughtful on how and where and if we bring titles to other platforms. So again, like I'm not saying that they won't bring more live service games to Xbox, but I've been hearing for years now PC Cat say single player games are going to PC day. It hasn't happened. PlayStation keeps saying no, we're sticking to the same strategy. And I keep hearing they're going to do day. They're going to do day. I never said they would or wouldn't. I'm just like, let's wait and see. But It does seem like PlayStation is just doing what they've said they're going to be doing. And that's
that's the thing. It's all we can go by right now. That's the whole thing, and that's I think your point, Nib, is we have to go by with what factual information we have, and that's the thing. So people when they go, it's going to be somebody in 2032 or 2037 that's like, finally, day and date, there it is. It's after the when the PS7 is due. And it's like, or whatever, and it's like, of course, if you want to make these predictions and then it happens, they've been saying it since 2016, 2017. So. Here we are. We're going to be 2026 is around the corner. It's going to be almost a decade since Quantum Break went to PC day and date. It was 2016. So, it's been since 2016. They're like, PlayStation's any day now. Any day now. And it's like, all right, well, it's not that it can't be, but at the same time, it's just not, Meg, I'm sorry. I'm holding you hostage here. I apologize, buddy.
No. I just wanted to read something really funny. I just
Go ahead,
got
buddy.
a response to that. That tweet that I was talking about with the Helldivers thing?
Yes.
And I said it was poor timing and everything else, whatever, right? So this dude who doesn't follow me, he responds and he goes, so it is what it is. You could tell where he sits. He goes, it is what it is. The layoffs are nothing new. Just focus on the games. And then I wrote back, I'm like, but the games were canceled.
The games are canceled. That's a great answer.
The games were canceled as a result of the layoffs, you fucking clown. You realize, there's so people. This is why the jingling keys works.
Yeah.
It's guys like that that literally make up, such a huge portion of people.
Yeah.
That is why the jingling keys effect works. But anyways.
Squirrel. Exactly.
Yeah,
Mag, thank you so much for being here, buddy. Let people know where they can find you. I appreciate it, man.
Listen, it was an awesome show tonight. Even that 40 minutes I didn't speak, I was just listening to you guys go. And it was wonderful. No, it was great. It was great. It was like I was watching a show. So, anyways, everybody, you guys are awesome. Chat, you guys are awesome as always. Follow me at the Mag Show. You can find me.
Yes.
I'm sure we can. The channel's growing pretty quickly, and it's doing really well. So you find me at all capital letters, the space Mag Show. So find me there, and then you can reach out to me anytime. Become a maggot. Become part of the Legion of Mag. So join me. We'll be doing that. And actually, tomorrow night and Sunday, I'm going to be streaming Death Stranding 2 again, assuming I don't get another copyright strike. Thank you, Hideo Kojima, for putting licensed music in your game. So we'll see. I'll be doing that Death Stranding 2 Friday and Sunday, and then back on XNC with Cold on Monday. So
Mag, anyway. I know you're, and listen, great plug, by the way, guys. Go over and follow the Mag everywhere. Mag, I got to tell you, just so you know, I will say this, and don't get me wrong, you have a great following over on YouTube. I want to say thanks to everybody that's here. We're not in the show yet, but I'm saying thanks to everyone that listens to the show here. I do all my streaming on Twitch. I played on Twitch. The VOD came out. Music was all there. Twitch doesn't give a shit. Try Twitch.
Really?
Yeah, try Twitch for your game streaming.
I was gonna move to Twitch after I started the YouTube channel started growing even more so.
Because YouTube's your videos. Any moments you're doing, any podcasting live streams, that's fine. And then do your gameplay over on Twitch, and then put your VODs over on YouTube. That's the way to do it, honestly, because Twitch just gives you a little bit more. Don't get me wrong. Twitch has got its problems. But the one thing that it doesn't do wrong is they don't worry about the music and all that stuff as much.
there's my first maggot right there. Is a Voyager 88's in the chat. I just saw him there. Yeah,
there
he's
he
the
is.
first one,
Shout out to Voyager.
I put hi Voyager. I'll be back on tomorrow night, buddy. Anyways, my link is in the chat.
Yes.
I just put it in there. But anyways, you guys have a great night. I got to bail. So
No, go ahead,
we'll
Nick.
do this
Thank
again
you.
sometime soon.
Have a good
All
one.
right.
Thanks,
Have a
man.
good
Go
one.
ahead, Wise.
All right.
Wise, did you have something to say? Somebody have something to say? I couldn't hear if somebody.
No, I was just saying hi.
I got a couple of super chats here. Lucifer with the $6.66. I love how he always says that. He goes, the crap gamer curse is finished off Xbox. LOL. He needs to back the Switch too. Those bastards need it. Shout out to Lucifer and shout out to crap. Babor is back. He says, J-Dub, did you forget when Sony said it was just a tip? He said with Horizon, that's how it starts. I don't trust them. People don't trust them because of PC. What do you think, J-Dub? Babor's coming at you with a
Well,
a stunner there, yeah.
With Horizon, I mean, Horizon is, I mean, what he's talking about? Oh, he's talking about the Lego game.
He's talking about the Lego game.
Oh my god!
I know, Jay. I know.
That's my response. Oh my.
Well,
god.
there you go.
Say, though, too,
Go ahead.
I
Dave.
will say to Helldivers 2, one thing that like PlayStation fans cannot do,
Okay.
and I'm certainly not going to do it. But I don't know what like. Gaz has this tweet of me talking about what first party is and isn't, as if it's some kind of gotcha. Like, I'm not saying this isn't a first party game that's going to Xbox, so I don't really
No,
get,
yeah, absolutely.
I feel
No.
like being perpetually ignorant of something. Like, it is true that PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo consider a game that they own the IP and publish a first party title.
Yes.
If they do not own the IP, they consider it a second party, although they don't really use that internally. In PlayStation's financials, games like Stellar Blade and Rise of the Ronin still went under the first party banner in the financial specs. But yeah, obviously it's technically second party because they don't own the IP. But Helldivers 2 is a first-party release. It may have been made by a third-party developer, but as Phil Spencer himself has clarified, as a Nintendo CEO has clarified, if the game is owned and published, as in the IP is owned and published by the platform holder, they consider it first-party because it's basically the equivalent. They've paid for the full development, all the marketing. They literally own the IP as well, so it's not going anywhere else. And it's like there's no gotcha. This is actually just a first-party game that is going to Xbox. Whereas with MLB and with like Bungie, those are indeed different criteria because MLB, as Crap said earlier, they requested the licensing go on Xbox, and with Bungie, obviously they still have control over the company and publishing themselves, but potentially not for much longer. But,
I don't think so. Not for much longer either. I think eventually Sony's taking over. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I did want to clarify. There's no gotcha. Like, this is, in that sense, it is quite pertinent news because PlayStation, as far as I know, has never published a first-party game on the Xbox before. This is the first one, as far as I can tell.
That's right.
Yeah. So it is big news. But
it is news. It's definitely newsworthy. I completely agree. I just question the severity that some are taking it to, but again, I don't think it's
people who are saying like whole slate, like
that's it.
Whole slate, you're basing it off Helldivers.
That's it.
Like
you've literally had Insomniac.
Do not know the fundamental business model.
They can't physically do the whole slate, right? They physically cannot, because if Nix's is doing the porting, Nix's is only like I think it's 60 people or something, right?
Yeah.
How is a team of 60 people going to do the whole slate? Like, use some logic here.
Yeah.
Like, it's not feasible.
That and people saying this stuff do not understand the inherent business model of PlayStation versus Xbox. PlayStation cares about their hardware. Xbox does not.
Right.
Xbox does not care about the hardware. So that being said,
yeah,
PlayStation has that's why they're going to make their first party games exclusive for a certain amount of time, because they want to sell the hardware. Xbox has no plans for that. That's why they're putting it everywhere.
I will say this. I've learned today, and I'm gonna stick by this. Helldivers 2 going to Xbox meant more to PlayStation fans than Gears going over to PlayStation from Xbox fans.
Well, I think Xbox. I think you're probably right, Jay, and that's because I think at this point, when I think right now on the Xbox side, they're just assuming everything is going over.
Exactly. Yeah. They're already defeated and demoralized,
That's
which is why they're celebrating this as such a win because
yeah,
But I mean, they're defeated and they're down and out. But we didn't get that type of react. I didn't see that type of reaction from Xbox guys like I'm seeing from PlayStation guys. PlayStation guys won the console war, right? They got the best hardware, they got the best software, they won everything. And they're crying about the most littlest things. It just
they are upset.
It's crazy
they're upset
because the Xbox guys will give their right arm to be in PlayStation's position.
Yes. I think they're just they're upset. I think the reason you're hearing it, nothing you don't already know, Jay, is because they think this is the crack of the door that allows all other games to come down the path. And I don't think that the main reason.
And if that does, and guess what? The same thing like Crap said earlier. And if that does, what can you do to stop it? Crap said that about Xbox to 2016. Did it stop it? Nope. There's nothing you can do to stop it because corporations are going to make money. Their goal is to make money. And see, here's my motto. My motto has always been: as long as you provide me with the great hardware and the goatees, I'm good. I get it. Make your money. Do what you got to do. Make your money. But Helldivers is not the game that would have broke the bank for me. You could say if it's Spider-Man or God of War or something, then that's a very valid argument, like what you said, Mooch. But Helldivers?
Yeah, Helldivers. Honestly, like I said, they've had their DLCs come out. Their largest one was out a bit ago, and they've already squeezed the hell out of what they can on this IP on PC. Okay, they've squeezed it out of the PlayStation 5. And to be honest with you, they haven't... Listen, you guys all know this, right? PlayStation's had awful success with the rest of their other games as a service. So they're like, hey, while we still have one that has decent household recognition, let's put it over there. And listen, I will also say, I know a lot of people... I don't have... Nib, maybe you have something in writing. I don't. I just really think that Arrowhead was like, listen, here's the thing. I want that everywhere. I want that game everywhere. And I think that, listen, who knows? Maybe it's a deal that they had in place. Maybe it's a deal for the future games. That way they have maybe they'll do something else with them in the future. Not the next game. Next game's going to be multi-plat. The game after that, they're like, look, you put our game everywhere. Give us the most money we can get off of that. Because they make money off that too. So, I mean, it is what it is. I think at the end of the day, we'll see what happens. Never say never. I'm not saying it won't happen. Crap goes, don't ever say. Go ahead.
I do have a question. And this is an honest question because I don't know. And I'd really have listened for an answer. Why does it seem, as JW said earlier, PlayStation fans seem the most upset about this? Why is it when a game comes to an alternate platform, be it PC or whatever, even with Horizon, right, the Lego one?
That's an easy.
Fans are up and on about
easy.
That, right?
Why? That's an easy answer. Because they see what happened with what Xbox experimented with, and it destroyed the platform. So they don't want that to happen to
Horizon Lego.
But you listen.
I mean,
you're picking.
Like
listen, to defend them just a bit here. Listen, though, I'm answering your question. That's the easy answer. Oh my God, it's just Lego. Oh my God, it's just Helldivers too. But the point of the matter is that they saw what Xbox did when they opened the door, and look where Xbox is now. Now Xbox is a handheld made by Asus, right? Or their next console is going to.
But their business models are different, have been different.
I understand.
Well, I won't say will always be, but
I listen. So why in the end game? I'm with you. I understand why you're asking that question. I'm playing kind of devil's advocate. I'm also answering from the other side of it. Is they're saying if this does open the door and that is the path they go, it's clear that would eventually end the PlayStation console. And that's the thing. That's why they feel that way. And I do understand that. I really do. You have to understand people that are arguing back and forth in the PlayStation community today. I do get where they're coming from. I just happen to think that what Nib said is what we have to go on right now. And that is, this is what they said. This is what they're doing. And they haven't really deterred from what they said they were going to do. Yeah. And so until they do, once they do, I said this to Jay. I said on the air, I'll say it again. Jay, I said the minute I see a Spider-Man or you see a God of War or you see an Uncharted go to Xbox, at that point, I got to say, you know what? At that point, I say, okay, so PlayStation, I see what you're doing. You're pivoting. Yep. But they literally just did a couch discussion where he said we're not going to pivot. He said that.
Yeah.
Like he said those words. So I mean, like
I will say as well,
I don't know.
Like, that's actually the same thing that Xbox fans said as well. By the way, they said, "Look, there's no Halo or Gears or Forza."
They said it was just 4 games.
4 games, yeah.
It was just first Pentiment, and then it was this, and then
right.
Yeah. It's funny because like I really feel like they're so hurt about that. They really want PlayStation to have a 4 games moment. Like, everyone's
they do.
PlayStation's 4 games moment, and I'm like, where did PlayStation say that? Where has PlayStation even spoken about this to say that you caught them lying about something? Like they don't do these kind of public shenanigans like that. Whatever they've said publicly, they've stuck to. So I don't, I think it's people just, I find this like in general, and I put out a tweet about this, is like a lot of, to be honest, I think that PC fans are much more vocal and loud about Xbox fanboyism than the Xbox fans, funnily enough.
Yes.
And I just find like they are in a constant kind of desperate need to conflate their strategies and failures. And I think the reason is
that's because like gas, right? That's because they lost the console war with Xbox, so they jumped to PC and try to fight from that angle. And it's like,
why fight a stupid war? I don't understand.
I was saying,
no, the war is over, bro. Like I don't get it. Listen, y'all know I'm the biggest console. I'm the biggest, one of the biggest fanboys out there, flaming but. Like I won, you won already. Your console won. It's number one. You ran everybody out of the business, right? Out of the console market. You ran everybody out their lane. Enjoy. Like you can't take one day to enjoy you getting the best games with the best hardware for the cheapest price, and just enjoy that without looking in the back window at the loser who's fucking losing all their games, losing all their studios and everything. Like it's crazy. Because I'm gonna be honest, as detrimental as yesterday was for Xbox with announcing this news, that is equivalent. PlayStation guys are acting like that was equivalent to Helldivers 2. I mean, they're literally taking it like they're acting like that shit that happened to Xbox yesterday is happening to Sony right now. That's how they're acting with this Helldivers 2. And I just don't understand. That's why I say it's puzzling. People close their Twitter.
Listen,
people closing their Twitter accounts.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. So final Xbox was
guys. It's just a video game. You do know that.
Yeah. First of all,
it's 4th of July. Like fucking go pop some fireworks or some shit. What the fuck?
No, but I was going to say, Jada, to your point, I actually was talking about like PC gamers, right? Not. I wasn't talking about like I wasn't talking about refugees going to PC. I meant actual PC gamers. Like sort of like Fratanga, Alex, and stuff. And I think the reason is because they obviously play on PC, so they need the success story to be that broadening your horizons and putting your games on more platforms is conducive to success, right? They need that to be.
But they don't play those. Listen, let's face it. True PC gamers don't play these console ports. They're busy playing Dota 2, World of Warcraft, and actual
and true PC gamers do not degenerate in console wars.
They're not trying to play, ports of PlayStation games and Xbox. That's just what that is. And I'm a PC gamer, right?
I mean, look at Brad. Brad would never say PlayStation or Xbox is better. He's always PC.
99% of the games that I play on PC are not on console. They are true PC exclusives. I did not buy a PC to just
the other. Let me mention this real quick because this is something we didn't talk about. Is that they're saying they're gonna gauge the success of Helldivers 2 on Xbox. Xbox fans have been Xbox fans have been talking about, please give us, we want to play Final Fantasy 16. Mm-hmm. And then the game has come out, right? On Xbox. Mm-hmm. We don't hear I don't see any gameplay on X. I don't hear anything.
None of that shit. Yeah,
I don't see anything. So it's been nonstop. Right, Nib, do you have any numbers or do you have any I don't know.
Well, I mean, we know
the last was like 22,000.
Yeah, that was 2000 was Alania, and we also have another data point now where the top 20 Sakana player engagement, it's not in there in the
Right.
top 20.
Right.
And
this
the
is
other
a
thing I
game.
was
This
gonna
is
say
a game
to the
that
point-
had to go to Xbox. It had to go to Xbox.
yeah.
Had to be there.
But the other point I was going to make, that about this conversation, because I was going back and forth with someone, a PC gamer, about this, and it's like, the whole like we need to PC is the future, right? But I always say, like, Xbox started doing PC day-date releases in 2016. That's like 9 years ago, right?
Yep.
What difference did it make to their revenue growth and success parameters? Not only
Zero.
did it not make any difference, their
It
growth was
diminished the
actually
value of Xbox
stagnant.
itself, the console.
Yeah, so their growth
That's
was
what really
stagnant
did.
versus PlayStation and Nintendo, who had massive growth. It actually had the opposite effect, driving people away from Xbox to PC, capitulated their console hardware, and lost them a lot of that 30% cut. So,
but how much was that
games
engineered? How much was that engineered? Them saying, okay, well, we're not going to win this console war, so let's just pivot everybody to the platform that everyone's sort of going to anyways.
But I
PC.
don't think that's what they anticipated. I think they thought we're going to maintain our console install and we're going to gain additional PC gamers.
Yeah.
But what actually happened was they
I
just
heard
traded.
people saying that it was going to convince PlayStation gamers to leave PlayStation and to go and buy an Xbox because they can get to play all the games for cheap in the game service subscription.
Yeah.
Right.
That is
That's right.
what was a Trojan horse or whatever. And not only did that not happen, remember they said the same thing with Call of Duty. Everybody's going to leave.
Everybody's going
to go buy an Xbox now.
Why would you pay Why would you pay $70?
They were so vocal about that. Jim Ryan started believing it, and he made it.
And what happened? The people kept buying kept buying COD on PlayStation, and like they always have, it was just another day of the week.
It's like,
and the results didn't bear any fruit.
It's just everybody's batting 1,000 that says that all the time. It's like PC game, PlayStation games went on PC. They're like, any day, it's day and date, any day now. That was like 5 years ago. Okay, that didn't happen. It's same thing. Yet once Game Pass finally has Call of Duty, why would you ever pay $70 for that? Why? It's in Game Pass. It's crazy. You buy it every year. It's worth your weight in gold right there. Didn't work out so well. It's
that's the only game you played. Then why
after hit after. Well, the thing is, too, people dismiss the people that are doing this, for channels and things like that. They dismiss the fact that people like to own their games. Wise, you're a big Xbox fan. You hang out with a lot of Xbox guys. Yet every single time a game you love, you don't just buy the game. You buy the $350,000 collector's edition.
Yep.
Like it's not even like
that robot elephant,
Like, I mean, okay, and that's not. By the way, bravo! I think that's awesome. Like, my point being is that, like, and as you should.
Well, thank you for congratulating me. My wife, Chris.
Your wife's probably not so happy about that. You know what I mean? So I mean, but that's okay. But I'm okay with it. So, Mrs. Wise, I apologize.
I still got to hear about that robotic elephant. I still am hearing about that fucking robotic elephant.
So it's like, but these are the things like Jay was saying, like at time after time after time, and it's like, listen, again, never say never, never speak in absolutes. I'm not saying these things will not happen or never happen. I'm just saying, from the context that we have from what Nib read off and what they have said from PlayStation, and then we've had numerous times where they're like, this is it. This is going to be the fall PlayStation. It hasn't happened yet. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen ever. It just hasn't happened yet. And I just, for some reason, I don't know. It's
that's the thing. That's the thing. You have to come to a realization and be true to yourself.
Yeah.
I come from a generation from the NES and the 2600, where you got a console, you got the game was optimized for that console's hardware, and you were able to play that game only on that console and nowhere else. And that's what I was raised on. I mean, Illusion of Gaia was only on the Super Nintendo. Final Fantasy 3 was only on that. Final Fantasy 7 only on Play. I mean, this is what I've grown up on. I didn't play Space Channel 5 on the PlayStation 4 or whatever. I played it on the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm accustomed to. This is familiar to me. So, to anyone wanting games everywhere and doing everything, that's good. Go for it. And I'm not disallowing that. But for my purposes, when I buy a console, I want to buy a game that is optimized for that console.
Right.
So I'm playing it in the best light ever. And that game is only available on said console. Otherwise, what's the fucking point of the console?
Right. Let me give a shout out real quick to Lock01, who just apparently stumbled upon the channel. A show called Crossfire. Well, we all have the same opinion, LOL. Lock, this is news just for you. 2 weeks ago, we went for 4.5 hours where there was so much screaming back and forth on the damn show that we couldn't even hear. I had to actually come in and mediate in the middle of the show. And not just that, we had Crap, who was definitely not on the same page as what we're saying. Wise is on an Xbox-centric Xbox podcast, and he doesn't always agree with us. So, Locke, welcome to Crossfire.
Oh, yeah, treat me like a black sheep. Go ahead.
Hey, listen. Well, no, I'm saying I bring guys on from the Xbox. I wish that singer was here tonight. I wish that singer was here, but
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No,
I'm just kidding.
That singer couldn't make it tonight. I would have loved that singer. But anyways, Locke, why don't you tune in a little more often? Show you he pops in tonight and he's like, "What's going on this channel? What's happening here?" People need to disagree more often. Listen, the thing is here's the problem, Locke, because you're just tuning in. The situation is this. You got a situation where you have the Xbox layoffs that happened. I don't think anyone's going to disagree that was, there's nothing there that anyone's excited about. Everyone's on the same page that probably shouldn't have happened. We didn't want to see that happen to anybody.
I am. My stock value went up, so I complain all you want.
And Wise is a Microsoft stockholder, so that's different. But I'm just saying, it is what it is. We have people on. I invite people. Sometimes people can make it, sometimes they can't. Nonetheless, so I always like it when someone says that they stop in for one of the first times. Like, what's going on over here? What's this show all about? Not enough cross-firing. So shout out to Locke. Appreciate him stopping by. That being said, let's go over. I do want to have one more topic here before I let you guys enjoy 4th of July weekend. Nib, I'm not sure if you're going to celebrate that. So
no, I can't. I'm scared of ice and alligators, so I can't.
I can't. Shout out to Wise. Wise is always gonna do the risque.
Hey, I am only 5 hours away from alligator Alcatraz. That's all I'm saying. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not hedging my bets.
Oh man, yeah, Locke, one dude. It's 2 dudes tonight. I'm sorry, Locke, you couldn't keep up. That was Crap and Wise, but nonetheless, Locke, thanks for being here. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move on. I do want to ask you guys a question real quick. I just saw the number come out. The question was going to be kind of like we don't know, but then I saw some numbers come out just before the show, and it said 1.4 million for sales on Death Stranding. I believe it was the first 3 days.
Yeah.
Right. So, Nib, do you have those numbers there? It was till the end of June is what I saw.
Yeah, I believe it's 5 days, maybe 4.
Was it 5? Are they counting the? Is that so? Yeah, so that would be because they were counting the. Help me here. The early access.
Yeah.
Early access. Yeah. So that was the 24th, I believe.
Yeah.
So from the 24th to the 30th, 1.4 million copies sold. What are we thinking, guys? Good, bad, ugly? What you expected? Disappointed or excited?
Hey, that's freaking good. It's only been out a few days.
That's that they're counting the early access, which I'm sure many people probably didn't jump in at the $80 level. So really from the 26th to the 30th, but we'll count the 24th because it does count. So from the 24th to the 30th, 1.4 million. Thoughts? I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of like I saw the number just before we went live. I think that's probably fairly good. There's Wise with his drawbridge controller, very nice by the way.
I got sweaty palms.
It's PS5 only.
That's right.
For PS5 only. For a week, a little bit less than a week or whatever. That's fucking good.
Yeah,
it'll probably go on to it'll probably go on to sell maybe 4 or 5 million copies, 6 million copies.
You think?
I think the first game sold eight plus million. So
yeah, so you're saying lifespan?
Yeah. Lifespan. I think it'll. I think it'll do similar to what the first one did.
What do you think, Neb? You're usually the numbers guy. Is that something that's impressive? I mean, 1.4 million to 5 to 6 days. You said 5 days. I'm saying 6. Nib's muted. I'm not sure.
I was on mute.
That's all right.
That's like
I was on mute. Yeah, I was going to say
that's half of like a God of War or The Last of Us. That's real good because that game, obviously it's not not God of War.
What was Final just real quick? What was Final Fantasy 16? What was it was 3 million, and what was the duration?
3 million in like 3 weeks. 3 million in like 3 weeks.
Was it 3?
Yeah, within 3 weeks.
Okay, so
that was 3 million.
3 to 4 weeks. I got the screenshot somewhere.
No, 3 million in 5 days, I think.
Yeah, 3 months, 5. But the initial release of Death Stranding.
5 days.
A bit of context on Death Stranding. Death Stranding actually. This is selling much quicker than Death Stranding 1, which there was a report from Christopher Dring about how physical sales were 66% behind Death Stranding 1. Mm-hmm. And I did say the reason I didn't put out a tweet on it was because I know digital obviously is more popular now than it was back in 2019, but more than that, early access was only available in Digital Deluxe and the Collector's Edition physical.
Yeah, that's true.
And the Collector's Edition physical is like $200 and something or $300, whatever it is, something crazy.
Yes,
$249.
The original game took 2 years to sell 5 million. So it's
and I have a feeling that a lot of consumers, to get it those 3 days early, who are interested in the game, they probably went with the Digital Deluxe. So I think for that, it probably has a much higher digital percentage than is typical for PlayStation. And sure enough, this data seems to back that, because 1.4 million, it's selling approximately 40% better, or I mean, based on estimates, than the original game, Cluster. And the original game, I think it did 3 million after quite a substantial period of time. So this
took 5 million. According to Google, it took 5 million to. It took 2 years to sell 5 million, and total sell through right now is 19 million.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if it did like, let's just say 1.4 million in a week, then the whole month is probably going to clear like 2 million, I reckon, easy. Which is really strong for this means there's actually growth for the franchise. And I'm a little bit surprised by that, because this is quite like a niche genre, and I know it's a cinematic game, but the first one didn't sell crazy either, because at the end of the day, it is kind of the type of gameplay systems we're talking about, like, delivering packages and everything like that. It's not, necessarily the broadest, genre scope,
right.
In terms of mass consumers. But yeah, I think overall, like, it's a very solid result. Again, people always say, "Oh, this is bad," but then they'll like celebrate like a Dragon's Dogma 2 or whatever, selling a similar number in a similar period of time on every platform.
That was every platform, and it was 2 million over the time frame.
Yeah, it's only when it's PlayStation, right? It's only when it's PlayStation is never enough. But you can have a multi-plat that launches on 15 different platforms, sell 500,000 copies. Like, oh my god, it's crazy.
Yeah, I do think that one point, Nib, to your credit, and Brap, welcome back. We're just talking about the 1.4 million Death Stranding 2 sales, Brap, in just the month of June, and that's we're saying I think it's 5 days. I don't know. Was it 5?
Including it's 5 days, not including I think it's 5 days, not including the pre-release. 7 days, incling the.
Is it 7 days?
Access.
Yeah, 7 days with early access.
Yeah.
So
Which I got to run because I got to go call my son. He's in camp, so before he gets a shutout for him tonight, so I got to call him before.
Well, I appreciate you being here, Wise. Let people know where they can find you. But even though you did Waste It with Wise last night.
Yeah, we did Waste It with Wise last night because tomorrow is 4th of July, so there's no show because we're all going to be drunk and hammered. So
that's right.
One way or another. So yeah, there you go.
That's
so yeah, I do a show podcast. Waste It with Wise is totally not like this. It is.
No, it's not. It's not.
That's all it is.
Go over and check it out. It's wild, man. It's fun. It's a fun podcast, man.
Yeah, it is. It's not meant to inform. It's not meant to be in a heated debate. It's just meant to get wasted, dude. That's why we call it
Wasted with Wise.
Yeah, Wasted with Wise. So every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, check us out, and follow me on Twitter, Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation, Wiseville Gamer with a Z. So yep.
Thanks, Wise. I appreciate it. Brap, what do you think? Brap, is the microphone on and working here? Coach is back from fireworks.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, I hope you guys can hear
Brap,
me.
did you get FOMO yet? Are you into Death Stranding 2 yet? Or I know sometimes FOMO will get you, Brap.
Yeah, I'm already playing it. Nib and I were talking about it last night on Brap.
Brap
which went live at 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Great.
Yeah, we had quite a good discussion about the game. It was very in depth, actually. Like gameplay system, story, like a lot of aspects. The technology inputs. How far into it are you now?
I'm about myself. I'm just a little over 20 hours in, and I'm loving it myself personally. Brad, go ahead. What were you saying? I didn't mean to steal Mike from you.
I'm in what is it? Act 3 now? Is it Act 3? Yeah, Act 3. No.
Do you remember the mission you're on?
Give me a vague idea of where you're at, because I actually don't know.
Okay. So I don't want to spoil anything. So I'm in the third act, basically.
But you're in like, good eye, mate.
What's that?
Yeah,
no.
I would assume he's in that area, Nib. Yes.
No. I'm not in that. I'm not in. Put it this way. I'm not. I haven't met Falky just yet. So,
okay. You're not. Okay.
But I'm there. But I'm close. I sense that I'm getting close to meeting Falky.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I have gameplay on right now, and I don't think it's spoilers to watch me take transport from one area to the other. So I thought it was kind of neat. But I'm truly. I do. The one thing that I'll say about the game real quick that I'm really enjoying from the first one, that they really made a monumental leap, and Nib, you might probably agree with me on this one, is just the mechanics itself. So when you're actually handling your cargo, working through the fabrication system, reorganizing, working the trike bike out, a lot smoother interaction with your deliverables and your said person and transport vehicle. That stuff was a little bit more cumbersome in the first one. I found this one to be a lot easier. And what else was it? The other thing is the terrain. I'm enjoying traveling on this terrain a lot more. The first one was extremely, like, the rocks were just every millimeter. It was just like you were popping a wheelie to get over anything. And in this one here, they've made things a little bit more easier for transport. The weapons too, they throw the more useful weapons at you a lot sooner in the game, which is a lot of fun. And they've also doubled down on the emphasis of shooting mechanics and more combat than the first one. But those are very top level, but at the same time, they're big changes in quality of life of the game.
Yeah, they dumped the some of the action, the action throughout the game as far as the combat and stuff.
Yeah,
is varied throughout the early stages, the middle stages, and obviously the late stages. Whereas the first game, they made you grind through about 6 or 7 hours before you got vehicles and you got the good weapons and stuff like that. With a lot of people with the first game, they just didn't want to sit through it that long to get the payoff. Now they seem to make it a little bit more enticing for people to get their wings and get going with the combat and all that stuff. So
I mean,
really good pacing. Beautiful graphics.
Beautiful game.
Amazing graphics.
Gorgeous game.
Insane. But I would agree with you, like, quality of life improvements across the board, which obviously it takes away some of the kind of time wasting aspects and cumbersomeness. But I think for me also, like I was saying with Brap yesterday, the pacing of the game is just, I find, so much better. And on top of that, like, the dynamism and diversity in missions and stuff, pretty much like every main mission, there's some new angle or some new aspect, whether it's, again, I don't want to spoil, but one type of new enemy or one type of new weather variable or one type of new tool or whatever that you're using, another type of vehicle, another type of, there's a constant kind of like a reward factor. You're experimenting with new things, you're trying out new things, new weapons, new styles of play. And I will say, like, interestingly, it's called like a walking sim, and I don't know how you guys have been playing it, but the vast majority of the time I've actually been in vehicles.
Yeah, same here.
For me, so for me it's been more of a vehicle game, and I do love vehicles and racing games and stuff, like, and it's just, am I using my trike? Am I using this? Am I going to load my floating carrier into my truck instead? And maybe I can take it to a certain point, then load it in a garage and take the rest of the way here, or use, so it's like a whole strategy thing. But yeah, across the board, like, I genuinely do think, like, I gave the first one like a 9, but I gave it a 9 saying that it will be very divisive for many people.
Yes.
You kind of have to be in the right frame of mind and mood for it, because it's a very kind of chill vibe. It's a different style of game.
It is.
Like, if you're someone constant, shoot, bang, bang, and constant instant gratification. You're not going to get that from this. That's not. But this one, I can see why it scored better. For me, like it's verging on like incredible, like unbelievable. It's going to be a game of the year contender for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I literally haven't been able to put it down. Like, it's disgusting. Like, again, I'm doing that thing where I'm telling my wife I'm working and doing charts, and and I'm actually Stranding. I was gonna say it quietly, but across the board, like everything about it, technology, the implementation of visuals and tech. Because people say like, oh, a game looks pretty, and we just think like. We think aesthetics only, but as I was saying again with Brap yesterday, it's not just that. The way they've implemented technology, the way that like entire landscapes can be filled within an instant with river rapids, or like a lake formed in the middle of this area for me where there was no lake before, and it was just from the torrential rain. Another area which was dry when I drove through it on the way back, it was filled with like tumultuous, like bloody streams and rapids and everything like that. They're a whole different thing. And then you have the sandstorms, the forest fires, and there's so many ways they've implemented things. Obviously, the first game had a ton of this stuff as well, but it's just taken to that next level.
Well, also, Nib, and I don't want to interrupt you because you're doing a great job of describing the game, but the one thing that's important to tell the audience that may be on the fence about it is where that came to play in the first game. It happens in this game a lot sooner, and it gets you're just more engaged. I don't know. So I mean, that's it's one of those things.
I found with the first game, like some of the starring was taking too long. The reward wasn't always great. Whereas I'm finding like every single porter who I do missions for, even if it's not a style of gameplay that is like my forte, I still am enjoying the things they're giving me and experimenting with them. It could be a new type of grenade, or it could be like a hologram, or it could be an exoskeleton. Or there's always something that is there to just give me a bit of diversification in my gameplay and systems. And even if like I prefer playing gung ho or not stealth or this and that, at least like it mixes things up and it gives me the opportunity to just experiment a bit. And I do love that. And I think from a mission design perspective, because I always say like this is kind of like the X factor between open world games that score really high and those that don't, is like the repetition and the kind of rudimentary mission design aspect. Like let's just take like a Assassin's Creed. Oftentimes you're repeating the very same type of things for very same type of rewards that blend together, and they become meaningless after a while. And I will say so far, I haven't had that. Every single portal, they've given me something different. Every type of mission has introduced some type of different aspect to, maybe it's the terrain, maybe it's the environment, the biome, the characters.
How much are you, how much are you paying attention to the sub orders versus the standard orders? And of course, then there's the main mission. How are you diversifying that landscape?
I've been doing a lot of sub orders just because I really like the gear that they've given me. So like I love having a lightweight version of a level 2 weapon, a shotgun or a assault rifle, or whatever. And even though I'm not using it a lot of the time, like one mission I just had several hours back, I actually used my entire bloody arsenal of weapons, which was awesome. And like, my lightweight shotgun came into play because instead of taking up 2 slots, it's only taking up 1. So I had all my weapons on my shoulders and on my thighs, which is how I like to engage, because basically the thicker your backpack, the more you are seen when you hide or when you do stealth.
That's right.
So I like to keep my back as slim as possible and have everything else on my arms. But I couldn't have done that if I didn't.
You don't use your. Wait. Oh well, I don't. Well, you don't use your sleds.
No, but I meant
so I wasn't spoiling anything because you played.
It's in the first game, and you do get those. If you're using, I don't remember what the actual terminology is, the floating sleds behind. I have those a lot of times. A lot of times, I
link them together.
Yeah,
I link them together.
Yeah, but if you're doing
that way, if I get in a fight or something like that, I can just detach them. And that keeps me light, where I just have a
but they steal your gear, dude. They steal your gear.
Well,
I
I
don't know
don't
if
leave
you
them
have-
standing. They're not going to steal it if I whoop their ass.
Because I've had it where I've been engaged in combat and one like
Yeah.
motherfucker notices my shit and steals my shit. I'm like, yo, like come get
Yeah.
and there's me like running after
Yeah.
him, like you better get back with my stuff. But yeah, it's funny. Like, but I meant more in this mission. I don't think you bring that stuff forward
Mhm.
into the mission. But yeah, like what a treat! Like what a treat! And it's like I said again to Brap as well. Like if you are someone who's complained that there's not enough unique creativity in AAA gaming or innovation or whatever. If you don't play this game, you're not standing on business. You were never legitimate about that complaint.
Yeah, this is, and don't get me wrong, I will say this much. So I do agree with your statement there, Nib, but I will say this game this game is not for everybody. A lot of people write me and they say, "What do you think?" I've streamed it once or twice. I'm gonna stream it again this weekend. As opposed to Mag will be doing it on YouTube. I'm gonna be on Twitch. I appreciate a lot of you have been following me on Twitch, by the way. That's fantastic. We'll be on Saturday and Sunday. Tomorrow being the holiday. But I will say, I a lot of people are more inquisitive about this one than they were the first one. And I do think that it's because of the amount of cinematic and the way that they've put so much more money into everything. I mean, you could tell. I mean, everything is better. Everything, it looks better. It plays better. Again, the quality of life in the game. I'm about 20 hours in, 20, maybe just a slightly over 20 hours. And I've been doing, just to answer my own questions, I've been trying this time to focus on the sub missions, and I have done probably a good dozen standard missions. The problem is I have to stop doing that because even Wooly Gamer, and I'm not sure if Wooly's still listening right now in the chat, Wooly said, Mooch, you go back in New Game Plus or whatever and do to get your trophies and stuff. Just play through do a couple submissions, but he's like, stick to the main missions. The game is long enough with just the main. I think with the main missions, Brap and Jay and Nib, I think with the main missions alone, it's almost 60 hours. I heard completing this is well over 100, 110, 120, 130. Maybe I'm short on that. I'm not sure.
The thing is, it doesn't actually take long to unlock some of the high stars because basically what you can do is I find the best way to do it is when you're at someone else's porter, like or whatever station.
Yep.
Just go to the shared storage or whatever it's called, where like the shared cargo, and there will always be tons of another porter's stuff in there. And then usually on your ship as well, the Margella, whatever it's called.
Yep.
There's usually tons on there. Like yesterday, I did one mission for, I think it was the government and the lone sniper or the lone something. I don't know.
Yep.
But I had it was like 5 packages in the Margella ship and another like 5 in with another porter. So I did like 10 in one go, and it gave me like 2,700 likes, which like instantly.
Oh my god! Wait, those packages that are in the what is it called? The MGH? I can't remember what they call it, the actual ship, but those are left from other porters, other players.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
when you stack them up and you deliver them in one go, you still get the likes.
Okay.
As long as you don't fast travel. If you fast travel, you lose 75% of the likes. But if you just, a really easy way to do it is leave everything in the storage, fast travel close to the to wherever the drop-off point is, and then take it out of cargo and put it on your back. Then you don't have very far to travel, and you can basically like get thousands of likes in like a very short space of time.
Oh, okay. That's a great pointer there. I did not know that. I remember Wooly saying something similar, that were some tips and tricks from Death Stranding 1, but I did not know that for this one, so that's good to know.
Yeah, he was saying like, yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Brap.
Yeah, I was going to say, something that Nim and I were discussing last night, that I think Nib described the characters, just the game. I think Kojima games as a bit bombastic and quirky at times, and I was thinking about that. Like, there's literally a song, and I don't know if anyone else can get away with this except for Kojima. He's literally has the song "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head," which was released in 1969.
Yes,
but what's funny is that that song actually makes sense.
It actually does. It's crazy.
The rainfall.
Yeah, Timefall.
The Timefall, yeah, the Timefall. If you think about the Timefall in that game, so
well, Brap,
yeah,
let me piggyback off
yeah,
that music for
yeah.
a second. So, and guys, I hope this doesn't spoil it for you. I don't think it really does. One of the missions you do visit a musician, and when you do, you get a music player. Now, guys, tell me, I never did this in the first one, and I played a lot of hours of the first one. You get a music player. I have 2 or 3 playlists that I have.
Me too.
And I love that. I said one of the things I used to say all the time to my family, I wish we could actually play the music in this game while I'm just transporting product left and right? And in this game, it allows you to do that, and it allows you to select the music. And it's phenomenal.
Yep.
It really is phenomenal. I want to say it's game changing to a sense, because a lot of this is making deliveries, and to be able to have the music that's selected is awesome. And the game is
atmospheric.
And except for the raindrops keep falling on my head that Brap's talking about, that all you guys do know.
That threw me off, by the way. Like, I'm like, what? Did he just put the song in this game?
He
Like,
did.
Who else could get away with that? Like, I really think only Kojima. But it makes this games unique. And to Dib's point about the bombastic characters, the quirkiness, like, even though the characters, like, and I remember first playing Death Stranding 1, and I'm like, this guy's name is Dead Man? Are you serious? Like, why? Like, why would you? And then Die Hard Man, really? Like,
right?
Die Hard Man, yeah.
But then like Nib and I were talking about this last night. Dead Man, like, Kojima does a really good job at humanizing the characters, and Dead Man in particular with Death Stranding 2, and even the first Death Stranding. But with what you learn about his character and his background in 1, and then what happens with him in 2, like, it really, as quirky and as odd as that name is, for at least for me, it is, like, Dead Man, and it's Guillermo del Toro at that. He just, despite all that quirkiness, like, you're able to connect with these characters in really meaningful ways.
Yeah.
Like Dead Man is battling with this almost identity crisis because of how he was conceived as a human, number one, and trying to figure out his place. And then you have, like, Die Hard Man. I don't know. I guess we can. I don't know if we can spoil aspects of Death Stranding 1, but I feel like it's been a couple of years. Maybe we can. But Die Hard Man at the end, like, he's just, like, he has his scene. I forget the voice actor played him. Tommy something.
Jenkins. Tommy Lee.
Is that right? Tom Jenkins.
Tommy
something.
Tom,
yeah, I think. So.
Hold on, I follow him. Hold on.
Yeah, I don't remember. That sounds like
Tommy Earl Jenkins.
Earl Jenkins.
Tommy Earl
Jenkins.
Jenkins. Yeah. So he has this like captivating, like, performance in the game where he's just like no nonsense kind of guy, and then at the end he just breaks down in tears, and like you realize that, like, being Die Hard Man carries an emotional burden for him, where he feels like, geez, like, I shouldn't be alive. Why am I still here? And you never get a sense of that emotional burden that he carries with him throughout the game. And then, to me, his mask speaks volumes to that, like that skull mask he wears. Like, I think he just wears that as a way to kind of shield himself from, that some of that, sometimes there's that saying, we all wear masks, right?
Yep.
Makes me think of Expedition 33. With that accent with the mask, but I think that's, to me, like, my interpretation of him wearing that mask was that, like, we all wear a mask and he's hiding something behind that mask, and that's that sense, that vulnerability he has, and that guilt. So those are the things that, like, Kojima does, as quirky and as crazy as some of the things are that he puts in his games. He does add that level of emotional depth, and does a great job, I think, of humanizing the characters and his games.
100%, and even. Yeah, I mean, again, 1000% agree. And we were saying, like, how with all the characters, they do have like a sub story that has, like, a deeper relatability to it. It might be, like, it might be about survivor's guilt. It might be about loneliness. It might be about, isolation. It might, like, there's so many different things and layers to these characters that seem really superficial and crazy, or, like, over the top at first, but they have, deeper layering to them and writing. And even though he does have these quirky ass names and cutscenes and everything else, the fact that he is still able to humanize them and get those emotional beats is amazing. Even the raindrops you're talking about. Even that character, I was like, oh, it kind of gets me, like
Yeah.
fuck, like um because of how she's treated or whatever. For yeah, so there's just these little things. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but even to the world itself, and even Death Stranding, right? Look at the time it came out, and we suffered COVID and everything else a few short years later, and it almost was like representative of what the world was going through at that time. It's so crazy how he has the ability to do these things where aspects of his stories from Metal Gear and from whatever the way the government oversight and this and that, and then with Death Stranding and the isolationist and bringing people together and everything, and the distance, social distancing, and all the rest of it comes into play. And again, there's elements of that where even though the story is crazy and stuff, that about fatherhood, about belonging, about existential life and crisis and belonging and do you exist, blah blah. There's a lot of stuff that's deeper to this, and I do enjoy that side of it.
No, the game, like I said, I was just talking to Aaron in the chat, and Aaron goes, just because it's weird doesn't mean it's unique. I think it's unique. Weird is an interesting term. I think that it's not for everybody, but it's definitely a unique IP, unique game, right, Brap? I mean, it's nothing like anything.
Mooch, I kind of disagree with that weird comment. I forget what you just said. I'm sorry, I'm old.
No, I hear. I'm with you. I disagreed with him too.
Because it's weird doesn't mean it's unique. I think what makes it so you could be weird, but if you don't execute weird good or well, then then it's not unique.
That's right.
Because he executes weird very well.
He does.
It's what makes it unique because it's not easy to do.
It's not. If I told you had to incorporate all the aspects of this game and I just gave like 15 different random things, Aaron, it'd be quite difficult for you to manifest that. It'd be very difficult to create something like that. I don't know. What do you think, Brad? I do see what you're saying. You're saying using the word weird, which weird always sounds like it's an insult. That's fine. Take the insult out of it. Weird meaning creative, different, and saying that that's something simple and easy to do. I'm with you, Brad. That's actually one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah, but there's also a level of range with Death Stranding too, and even his previous games, like Metal Gear Solid series. I mean, like Death Stranding being the most recent example. There's just this level of emotional range in his games, from humor to just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened, to holy shit, like the BTs are here and you're freaking out, right? Like there's that psychological thriller element to his games. No surprise, Guillermo del Toro is, and I think there's a lot of inspiration drawn from Guillermo del Toro in his movies, his films, with Death Stranding. But like he combines so much, like so many different levels or layers of emotion. I don't think that's easy to do in a game.
No,
at least in my opinion. I mean, I can't think of a game that's like has introduced these different layers of emotion, from laughter to fear to this sense of urgency to, I mean, like there's something like if you're a parent, maybe and maybe even if you're not a parent, maybe you still connect with Lou, but even that connection with that Sam Porter has with Lou, like that is, to me at least, that's a pretty strong connection.
Yeah,
especially if you play the first Death Stranding and you play the second, and there's if you play the first and you go into the second, like there's just, you forget, at least for me, I forgot that, oh my gosh, I actually kind of had this connection with Lou.
Yeah.
And I didn't really realize that I was playing with Death Stranding 1. I realize it now in Death Stranding 2.
Right.
And there's, talk about characters, like there's this line that Fragile has in the first Death Stranding, and it's this line's so simplistic. It's, I'm fragile, but I'm not fragile.
Right. Yes.
And that has always stuck with me. Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because it's weird. There's a play on words like that. I'm fragile, but I'm not fragile. That always reminds me of what I always say sometimes. You guys remember? I think it was what is it? Infinity War. I know it's one of the Marvel movies, but I like it when Thanos and Loki are going back and forth very early on in the movie, and he goes, "I could take the crew down to Earth. I've been there. I know it." And he goes, "Well," and he goes, "I have experience." And he goes, "If you consider failure experience," and Loki turns around and he says to him, "I consider experience." And I was like, that's probably one of my favorite lines, because think about it. Someone who has actually done that, even if they hadn't done it well, is better than somebody else going there that hasn't done it. They have experienced it. So I thought it was really interesting that Loki said, when you say fragile, I'm not fragile. Great play on the same word. I love it, Brap. I do. Simple things like that, and they do resonate with you. They stick with you. It's quite interesting. So I'm glad you pointed that out. I remember that as well. I will go ahead, Brap.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know it's like almost 10:30.
Yeah, I'm getting the you've been podcasting for almost 4 hours. Text messages.
I do have a question. I don't know if you guys have read this Windows Central article about what's happened at Microsoft behind the scenes.
I did just see something come through. Go ahead, Brap.
It's something that Nim and I discussed last night a bit about, the finance, the bean counters, Amy, as Logic calls her, Amy the Hood. That a lot of this is coming down from, and I think a lot of us already know this. A lot of this is coming down from the finance folks, Satya.
Yeah.
Obviously he's the CEO, and then Amy Hood, who's the CFO. That a lot of this stuff is. That it's coming down from them, and that there seems to be some pressure on Microsoft to shift towards really shift towards and invest in AI. And I don't know if this was said on the show earlier. I don't know, Nib, if you said this, but I thought I heard someone say that pre-ABK, it was there may have been some disagreement into the investment of the what amounts to be $80 billion in studio acquisitions, in a business that just really hadn't been producing, right? And instead of investing that money in AI, and so, according to this article, like there's investor groups are going increasingly concerned that Microsoft is losing or has already lost the race at AI.
Mm-hmm.
We know internally there is a pivot towards AI, towards streamlining, towards creating operational efficiencies, utilizing AI. That's a thing. I think it's a thing a lot of companies. Some of the stuff I hear about AI was related to Microsoft makes me think about what I'm hearing at my own company about creating operational efficiencies, doing less with more. This big push of AI. I mean, I hear it every day. It's hey, utilize AI, and it's like, okay, I get it. Like you guys want us to use AI. But yeah, it just seems like a lot of this stuff again is coming down, and I'm just glancing over this article here. It is coming down from the from the CFO and Satya Nadella, and I wasn't aware of this either. But the CEO of Microsoft now has a finance background. Logic mentioned this to me, has a finance background, and say maybe their claim to fame is that they actually were part of instrumental in turning around GE. So, I mean, when I think you have those two people who are finance individuals or bean counters, if you will, and they start taking a hard look, especially when you spend that kind of money, right? I think Nib would agree with me. You start taking a hard look at the books and say, wait a minute, we've spent all this money. We need to right this ship. We're not going to burn cash anymore. And it's and apparently a lot of this has created a great sense of uncertainty within
urgency.
Xbox. According to this article, and people and it's hurting the company culture there, and cultures. I don't think people really discuss culture enough, but culture is so important to the success of an organization. The organizations that I've been a part of that weren't successful in executing whatever it is they're trying to do had one of the common things that I recall seeing is just poor leadership, poor communication, poor work culture, and a lack of accountability.
Yeah,
like those things matter.
So they do.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens next here with Xbox.
It is, and I'm sure. Listen, just so it's fair for everyone here. As Brap, you said too, it's not Microsoft alone that's going through this. It's a lot of companies that are doing this, and it will be interesting to see what happens. But you will always lose a little bit of that ingenuity, that creative's talent when you're just gonna, AI sometimes is as simple as a copy paste, like use this, use that, use this, use that, and they mesh it together, and it's like there it is. And what you don't get with that is the stroke of the brush or the creative pen, or whatever it is. Some of these amazing games, stories, and that's why sometimes when you sit down and you look at something like Kojima did, and I didn't see this years and years ago, but like you get older and you kind of look at things and you say, you know what, I'm gonna give this a shot. I want to see where this person's taking this game, this story. How different is it? I've played a million Call of Duties and Battlefields and this and that. Don't get me wrong, I love those. I'm you guys know I'm excited for Borderlands 4, and people go, come on, Mooch, it's Borderlands 4. And it's like Borderlands 3 and Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 1. I know, but I do like some of the wacky writing, and sometimes it gives you that LOL, like a legit laugh out loud writing. Borderlands 3 really didn't have it as good. I'm hoping 4 brings it back. Borderlands 2 was phenomenal. But yeah, Brap, I do agree with you. We'll have to wait and see where all this goes. If Microsoft is letting more and more people go all the time, and we're getting rid of some of those.
Ask you a question though, guys.
Go ahead, Nib.
What has Microsoft done in terms of like management of their studios that compelled you or anyone else to think they would do an amazing job with ABK and Bethesda? Like, give me some tangible examples in the last decade.
I don't.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I don't know if I have one for you, Nib, and I'm never usually short on words.
Like,
So.
but driving, like, I mean, there's an element. Obviously, we did say this could be the case because it tends to follow mass scale consolidation or acquisition. But just even beyond that, on the management side of things, like I'm looking across the board and I'm like, these guys have like squandered most of their studios, even ones that had such pedigree before, like Lionhead and Rare and everything else. 343 hasn't done a great job, and so forth. And almost all of their studios across the board had some sort of like either poor cadence or management or some sort of aspect that was prohibiting them. And it's like, and those are the guys like you had confidence to oversee a $74 billion operation and another $8.1 billion one. Like, I don't know, like on reflection, I'm thinking, I mean, even though I said it at the time, it just seems a bit foolhardy that so much confidence was put into them. And it seems like the confidence coming from some people was not really based on the quality of their management and oversight, but based on their war chest and financials, which again is odd because a company only accrues a war chest and financial capital like that by being frugal and cutthroat. So the thing you're pointing at is actually evidence that the opposite may take place. So yeah, it's just a weird situation, and I don't know, maybe like one that a lot of people could have anticipated or predicted would have been the case.
Yeah, that's an interesting spin on the other side of it. Absolutely, absolutely, Nib.
Yeah.
Well, Brap, let me do this because you have to be careful. If you ever tempt Nib with a great conversation, we will go till 7 a.m. and there's no stopping him. There is no stopping Nib.
Well, it's
Nib,
Nib brings up some great points.
He does. He does. He always does.
I think for me, something that was telling. I understand like being a fan of a particular brand and hoping and wanting them to do well, but I also think that we need to operate in reality too, and like we just can't only acknowledge or accept like hope as being the end all be all.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's and I blame some of the content creators too that do this. They they create these narratives that are based on hope, and then when it doesn't happen, and you start having conversations like we're having, it becomes the pushback isn't Microsoft really didn't stick the landing here. Let's talk about why this may have happened. It becomes, oh well, you're fear mongering, or you just hate Xbox,
right,
or you want Xbox to fail, or or they start gatekeeping and being condescending towards people. It just like we need to start having honest conversations, and this just doesn't apply to Xbox. This would apply to any
platform or any. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I do think a good conversation. Like there was a couple things tonight that I walked in. I was like, okay, I believe in this is what I think. But I've had great conversation. Craps made some great points. Nib made some great points. Wise was on his game tonight. J Dub made some great. Jay wasn't just on one side either. He saw some other sides of it too. So I agree with you. Bring a good debate. It's always always fun.
You know what's funny about J Dub, real quick? I know you got to go, Mooch, but you know what's funny about J Dub? A lot of people don't know this about him, but he actually games on like all the platforms.
He does. I know he said that earlier. He goes, I do game on PC. He games he legitimately games everywhere. He does.
He's literally giving people Xboxes like in the community, like purchase Xboxes. Jay, I don't know if you want me to share that.
No, Jay just had to leave. He just wrote me exactly. But like Jay's been here for almost 4 hours. So Jay was handing out during the Xbox One era. He was handing out Xbox Ones, PlayStation 4s. There was so many photos. Actually, the first time I actually hung out with Jay in a game chat was on Xbox. That's little inside gaming right there, but a lot of fun. Literally, it was me, Luca. I shout out to All Day. Crap was with us, and Jay jumped in there. We were all just like talking and shit and having fun, man. It was great, and that was the first time I ever met him. And
I remember playing the speaking of like Xbox, I remember playing the oh my god, what's the MMO? No, what is it? What's that game by Ubisoft?
Ghost Recon?
No, not Ghost Recon.
That wasn't really
The Division.
Oh, The Division. Okay. The first one or the second one?
The first one. I remember playing the Division beta with Phil Spencer.
Nice.
Yeah, it was
I think
Phil,
I played Soccer Cars, aka Rocket League with Phil.
Yeah, but I remember Southbound was on that too.
Yeah, Southie was. Yep. Shout out to Southbound. Southbound Down actually wrote me last week. We got to get Southie back on the show. By the way,
I need to reach out to him. I'll connect in with him on Facebook. Funny enough.
Southie's great.
Well. Yeah,
he is doing very well. Shout out to Southbound and Down if he's listening later. I will do. Let me do the outros real quick though. Brap, tomorrow's 4th of July, Brap. And
I know.
Nib,
I might go live tomorrow.
Oh, don't you dare!
No, like during the day though.
You might be. Listen, if you do, you're probably you might get a sauced brap, which is always great, by the way. I remember those brap days.
Oh, no. I can't do that on podcasts anymore.
No, I don't know. I recommend having adult beverages after the podcast. Always a strong recommendation. But Brap, I'll go in reverse order and say shout out to you, Brap. Let everybody know where they can find you. I would say you have a show tomorrow, but you already did a show. Let them know where they can go find that show from yesterday. It was a great show.
Yeah, Basement Radio Arcade Podcast on YouTube. We had a great show last night with Nib, and great conversation. And actually, quick programming note regarding Brap. We're going to go back to Wednesday nights.
All right.
Because Coach is going to be entering football season soon, so there's going to be practices and just my schedule and stuff. And Fridays it's funny, Mooch. I remember you talking about Fridays being tough. And you're right. Like it's caught up to me too. Like, okay, I need to go back to Wednesday. So
honestly, that's a huge relief for me too, because I've been wanting to go on Brap, and honestly, yesterday was a tough one because it's before the holiday, and I was just getting everything ready for tonight. But if I know you're doing a week early, just let me know, and I'll be there, buddy.
Yeah, no, definitely. We got to get you back on. It's been a long time, but I'm just figuring out whether I'm going to do Wednesday night at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. But
8.
If you go to the channel,
vote for 8. If Brap does a poll, please vote for 8 for not just for Brap, but for everybody who knows Brap.
Actually, it'd be great for Nib because they give him an hour head start.
Yes, this is late for Nib tonight, and yet he's yours starts at 9. I don't know how
Nib, I don't know how you do it.
I don't either.
Is there some kind of like I don't know, like
you
drink? Like what is it?
No. So basically, like the last 2 days, luckily my wife has done the morning run with the kid, whereas the beginning of the week I did it. So I did Monday to Wednesday. So I'm able to wake up a bit later, and then obviously most of my work is in the evening anyway. So yeah, it's not too bad. I basically just sleep later, wake up later.
That's a great.
Gotcha.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
I don't sleep that much anyway. Like I probably only need like 4 or 5 hours to be fair.
You sound like me.
Yeah.
Most people like Mooch, you need 8 or 9 hours sleep. I'm like, what am I going into a coma?
Yeah.
There's too much.
I need at least 7.
Look at Brad. Brad's like, I don't know about you guys, but I'll take 7.
I if I don't get 7, I am not. You don't want to be around me.
He's crunchy like my wife. She gets hangry, tired. But the thing is, yeah, I have read a lot of studies.
Did
my
you
wife
say I get grouchy like your wife?
Yeah.
Oh my. You better not say that out loud, Nib.
Oh, she knows. I say to her all the time. Sometimes I'll just be like, "Have you slept much?" And she'll be like, "No."
So, shout out to Swag Bag. And he goes, I wish I could sleep 8 hours. Me too, dude. I can't. Even if someone's like, oh, you can sleep in. Like, tomorrow I could technically sleep in tomorrow because it is 4th of July. But I probably won't. That being said, Nib, let people know where they can find you so I can go. I need to go and have myself a bourbon, my friend. Yes, it's been a long week.
Yeah, so just X, Twitter, NIB95 Nib95 I was gonna drop in another point, but you know what? Let's just leave it.
Yeah, let's leave it at that, Nib. We'll make a note of it. We'll get it next Thursday. I promise. I won't let it.
I was gonna say something like just. This isn't like Microsoft or anything game related topic, but it's funny. Like Crap was here earlier.
Yeah,
and I was just thinking about this. Like, we've all known each other for a long time. Like,
gotta be. Now you're going on 12, probably 12 years now, bro.
12 years, yeah. I don't think people realize how long we've been doing this for, Mooch. Like,
it's a long time, man. It's a long time. I love it. Podcasting's a lot of fun. But I tell you, what I really people think I just say it. I don't. I really love the community. I love when you jump on Xbox, you jump on Steam, you jump on PS5, and people like. I love while I'm gaming that the messages go off. Yo, Mooch, how's that game? Or I love the show last week. Hey, I heard you say this on the show. Or, Brap, Nib said this. Make sure you tell Nib I said that. I mean? It's always that back and forth. It makes it so when you turn on your console, everything's alive. You know what I mean? Everything's happening. It's live right now. And I love that about the community. Phones always going off, notifications on X all the time. Brap, it's been a long time, but like that's the same thing. Like that's why I know I'm playing the game and I'm thinking I know that Brap. This is not Brap has been playing it now, but I'm saying when I first got early access and I was playing Death Stranding 2, I'm like Brap's definitely gonna get FOMO for this. You know what I mean? And I just know I've known him for a long time. I know even if he wasn't planning on it, I knew he was eventually gonna get the game. I know when I'm playing a game and Crap will write me and he'll say, "How's the game?" and I'll go, "This is not for you, Crap." I've known you for a long time. This is not your bag. And he goes, I know. I just thought I'd ask you how it is. But no, yeah, Brap, it's been a very long time, and it's been great. It's been absolutely great.
Well, it has, and I think that's important to share because I think many of the maybe newer people in the community probably don't understand our perspective because we've been doing this for so long. We've seen, especially as it relates to Xbox, a lot of us are still in the Xbox ecosystem, believe it or not.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
A lot of us have lived through the Xbox One. And used to podcast together during that era and understand the challenges and frustrations and some successes that platform had at the time.
Yeah.
But a lot of us also, go back to almost 25 years on the original Xbox. And so we have that perspective that I think some people don't have. And my assumption is they don't have that because of the way they talk about the platform.
Yeah. Yeah. They weren't there from day one.
The interesting thing I find is a lot of the guys in your circle, Mooch, they're actually like predominantly Xbox guys.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So it's always funny like hearing other people say, "Oh, you're PlayStation fanboys," and I'm like, actually, it feels like they are Xbox guys who fell out of love with what made the originals so great.
Yeah.
And they just want Xbox to go back to that.
That's probably a great interpretation from your seat. I'm saying third party. In fact, that you're sitting there listening to a lot of people come on the show. Yeah, that's actually very true. I think that's why a lot of people say, I don't understand why, and that's why I gave that comparison when people said I don't know why. I get why the PlayStation fans are concerned about it. They don't want that same thing to happen. What happened to Xbox? Xbox really had an outstanding thing going for them. From the OG Xbox to the 360. And I think even going into the Xbox One, yes, they ran into a bit of a media snag, if you will, with DRM and, of course, the Kinect. And the Kinect's always watching you and all of that. And the TV. I get it. Their sales pitch was horrible. But it's funny, all the things that they said about DRM that everybody was very, very anti, we are living in the world of DRM right now. So
they were too transparent. That's been, and I look, as much as we want, and I know people are like, what do you mean, Brap, too transparent? We want companies to be I get it, we do. But Like you notice, like, and I said this earlier in the show, like when Nintendo and PlayStation have issues, like they're not out there having business meetings.
No.
I mean, they are behind the scenes, but they're not having in front of us. That's my point. And there's something to be said for that. So a lot of us pay attention to those things, There's
No, I
saying,
agree.
the devil's in the details, so.
100%. And I'm glad you brought that up. We should actually bring that up at the beginning of a show so we can actually talk to more people about it. But it is true. It's very, very true. And it's been great. And having Nib join the show, and I appreciate it more than he knows. Great to have someone bring statistical analysis into the realm of gaming, because it really does help, quantify a lot of different opinions that people have and why we gauge ourselves and how we kind of set our tones on social media and how we formulate our thoughts on podcasting, and like I say, on X.
I'm gonna like fluff you a little bit. So I do get asked like
pause, Nib, pause.
Pause.
I do get asked quite often like to go to different podcasts, and generally like I just I'm just like no, I'm not really interested. One, I don't really know them, but the thing, like, obviously I've been on yours and Raps, and yours I go commonly. It's because like I appreciate the detail of the conversation. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and they're basically predominantly just based on emotion, and just feeling. Oh, I think this is going to be the case, or this will be the case, but it's not predicated on anything foundational. There's no data behind it. There's no numbers. There's no even some sort of like critical thinking analysis. It's just like, oh yeah, this is going to be because I feel this way. And with you, Brap, etc., I've noticed like a lot of people on the thing, even some people with inside connections, or they have some sort of line that they can discuss, and those are the kind of things that give context to conversations and the extra insight and detail that you might not get regularly. So I think like your viewers, they should they should appreciate the fact that you can get that level of detail from these discussions, because a lot of podcasts that I listen to or that I see clips from, like, they don't have that kind of discussion. Which is a shame.
I think a lot of people do end up coming back and listening to, like you say, Brab's podcast. I can only speak for present company and the ones that always come here, which I do enjoy and appreciate everybody in the chat. That's why every single day after the show, I send a thank you out to not only the panel, because the panel is such an important part of the show, and the diverse panel that we always bring every week, is the chat. The chat's a big part of it as well, and I think the chat is here for that. Even the ones that like to have fun and poke fun, and we go back and forth. I appreciate all of them. If Xbox fan, PC players, love them all. PlayStation players, because I want to hear the different perspectives. You'd be amazed when you listen to somebody how much more you can pick up. You know what I mean? And that's just that's a unique thing. And I appreciate Nib bringing that to attention for both Brap and for Crossfire. I appreciate that, Nib. And like I said, I truly appreciate you being on here, because it's enlightening. It's nice to bring some statistical analysis to the show, and it really does encourage more thought, and it encourages more opinions to be brought to the table. So, yeah, honestly, I can't thank you both enough. I'm going to do, and also speaking of thanking people, I love to always go through, because some people have to leave early, and I understand that. But shout out to the great Wise Old Gamer. It's at Wise Old Gamer, and it's Wasted with Wise on Friday nights at 6 p.m. The great J-Dub City. That's at J-Dub City 16. And you guys can go over and check out J-Dub City over on YouTube as well. The Crap Gamer, you guys know him as at _Crap Gamer, and it's Crap Gamer Reviews over on YouTube. Middle Aged Game Guy, it's at Middle Aged Game Guy, and it's at The Mag. I think it's The Mag on YouTube. Go over and check him out. Again, I follow him on there. I just don't have it right in front of me. There it is. Actually, it's at The Mag. It really is. That's exactly what it is. And of course, Brap and Nib, thank you guys so much. And shout out to Death Singer. He couldn't make it tonight, but we'll get him next week. We'll get Death Singer next week. Shout out to Death Singer. I hope he has a great weekend as well. Guys, please do hit the like button on the way out. Thanks to both these guys staying for almost 4 hours. Shout out to every one of you guys. Brian E., Silver Wolf. I see you guys. I'm in the Rich, Swag Bag. All you guys stayed sot. All you guys are here. Brandon G., you guys are fantastic people. I really appreciate it. Firefighter Alf, Jerome, SPD, you guys are all fantastic. Please hit the like button on the way out. We'll see you guys next Thursday. Have a great 4th of July if you're in the United States. If not, enjoy your weekend. And don't forget, twitch.tv, Mooch TV. Drop the O's for zeros, M00CHTV. We're going to be on there doing Death Stranding and it's a little bit of Warzone. We'll see what happens. Peace out. Good night. Go play some games.
Later, everyone.